Hello and welcome to another See You Next Thursday on the Dayton Ali got his 10-month ban confirmed. Conveniently, the day after Newcastle's game in the Champions League. I'm sure Everton will probably get their 12-point deduction confirmed just after they get a 13-point lead over the relegation places, no doubt. Anyway, today we have our very own Bilbo Baggins, Ed 25, and hopefully Seamus O'Deep's the one and only Lekender will be joining us later. So how are we today, Bilbo?
I'm good, thanks, Trish. Still a bit sad about passing of Bill Kenwright this week, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm doing fine, thank you.
That's good, mate. That's good. It is a shame about Kenwright. I mean, there's not many you could say were not many of his type left, is what I'm trying to say. You know,
No, there isn't.
fans
No,
who owned their clubs, the club they supported, and especially in the Premier League level, I'm talking about. Obviously, there's quite a few in the lower leagues, but I'm talking about Premier League level. It just doesn't happen anymore. I think he might well be the last of the breed, isn't he?
no. He might be. I think he is. Yeah, but yeah, there's certainly not many, and it's very sad for the club. I think he would have been better if he'd have left and lived a bit more of a life outside football for his own sake. I think he'd done a fantastic job for a long while, but the last couple of years under Mashiri's reign as the owner, he never had the best of times at Everton. It's culminated in him not going to the ground for the last season, so which was a bit of a shame. But he's still got a legacy, and he was a really good footballman.
I think for him, I think the thing was he should have left when he sold to Mashiri and just let Mashiri
Yeah,
out. I think that was his mistake, biggest mistake.
yeah,
There was no need for him to stay on and keep working. Keep on there. They needed to they
yeah.
needed to
He,
get away
he
from
was
him
still
then.
putting all the hours in and working hard behind the scenes, and there's some great stories come out about it. And, because of what he done with the Hillsborough,
Oh yeah, he was
putting
brilliant.
the 9 and the 6 on the kids in the blue kit and the red kit. He was the orchestrator of that, and Everton gave a lot of money to charity over it through Bill. And the lad from Sunderland who died, the young lad, he put £50,000 of his own money into that. And the stories that have come out since his passing about some of the things that he's done for supporters and supporters' families has been amazing, absolutely amazing what he done behind the scenes, and that he never wanted to take credit for. And he was a good man, a good football man. And it's just a shame that it went downhill just before he passed away, and he was getting a lot of abuse, which I didn't like at all. But that's just the way football is. It's not the nicest game in the world to be involved in at times.
Oh yeah, any bad result is always, you're always going to be targeted for abuse by someone, and it's sad because
Yeah,
there's just no need for it. I mean, why can't people just lose and that accept that they've lost? Why do they have to think that that's a reason to abuse
yeah.
someone? I don't understand it.
I know there were some nasty things said, but I don't want to talk about. I want to talk about the good things that Bill Kenwright done. As you say, a boyhood fan who seen his dream out to actually own the club and getting the ground up and running. That he never actually got to see. Would have been great if he could have gone and seen Bramley Moore come to fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been good, but
I mean, you got to
it's
remember
just one
as
of the
well. I mean,
things.
he put his house on. People say, "Oh, he got his money back," though. Yeah, but he didn't know he was going to get his money back when he remortgaged his
No,
house to put into Everton. He didn't know that this would recover and he'd make a fortune out of it. It was a risk, you know what I mean? It's a
yeah, yeah.
huge risk. He was risking losing his home and life savings and that, and he took it because he
He's
took the
done it
risk
all
because he
for the
loved
right
it.
reasons. You know,
Yeah, yeah. He's He'll be sadly missed, it must be said, by all sides of Merseyside, I think.
Yeah, there's been some lovely tributes from Liverpool and Everton fans, to be honest with you, on the internet about him. And yeah, it's not nice when a chairman, even though things haven't been going great lately for Everton, he's still it was his boyhood club, and he's seen his dream out, and God rest his soul. Anyway, that's all I can say about Bill.
I mean, there's two sides to every story, and I know there's some people in the theatre that will tell you he was very strict and hard to work for, but that was just because he wanted the best, which is strange because he's an Evertonian. You think he'd be happy with mediocrity, but there you go. Yeah, he did work. He did want people to work hard, and he expected people to do give their all, but he was giving his all, so he just expected that of others. I don't think that is a bad thing.
No.
And I certainly think you've got to say he's been very good for Everton Football Club overall. I don't think you can argue with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and he used to go to the games, on the train with the supporters to London and all the away games he used to go to. And he'd go on the train up until 2 years ago when his illness really kicked in. And he used to talk to the supporters on the train and, should we share the cab? And, I'll pay for the cab. Get 4 years in and all that, get another 4 in with me. And he was a good man like that, honest, genuine fella, but... it's really sad day for Everton Football Club when he passed away.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be another like him. I think that's the last of a breed for the Premier League, sadly.
Yeah, and I think so as well.
Yeah, it is a sad day. Is when's the funeral, by the way?
I don't know. I haven't heard yet, Tris. Right. I've been looking at all the tributes, but I haven't seen anything about the funeral yet.
No, I haven't. That's why I just wondered. I'm sure half my family will be there anyway, and I'm sort of red and blue in that respect. I mean,
yeah.
Oh yeah, they
it's a bit.
Respects.
It's poignant that one of his biggest fans, David Moyes, will be playing Everton as the manager of West Ham. Everton play West Ham the weekend, and I imagine there'll be a bit of a tribute to him. I hope there's a bit of a tribute to him, and I think there should be as well.
There has to be. They couldn't not do a tribute to him. It is fitting that it's David Moyes that will be managing the opponents on the day the tributes will take place.
Yeah, because he gave him the most success that Everton had in recent years. I know it was only 4th, but regular top 6, top 7. They had a good run under Moyes. I was not a big fan of Moyes, but it is fitting that when the club was at its best in recent years, it was under Moyes. So it is fitting that we play West Ham.
I think those two were very close as well, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
So it shall be good for it. It just feels right, The look at the fixtures, it turned out it's really just feels fitting to have those two facing off.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
very good.
it'd have probably been. If the only way I think it could have been better would have been if it had been last week for the derby. I think that would have been better for Bill because he would have that's where both sides get a chance to show their appreciation of him.
Yeah, because he did do a lot for Hillsborough actually. Yeah,
he was for the city. He was whole.
Yeah, he was very instrumental in our. With the tribute, he ain't heavy is my brother. He orchestrated that as well, which was brilliant. And as I say, the girl with the 9 on and the boy with the 6 on, or the other way around, on the shirts. He done a hell of a lot for charity as well. So,
Yeah,
but
he was very heavily
uh,
involved with Hillsborough.
I think he was a good person, and I think it's a sad loss to football, not just Everton. That a man like him's passed on.
Well, he was a big mover behind Everton becoming a community club rather than because like they
Yeah,
were just another club. I mean, I know you held the People's Club, but that was always Liverpool were then known as the People's Club because of Shankly. He coined it first.
yeah.
Everton was just another football club, no more community oriented than any other at the time until he took over and he made that the main foundation of the
Yeah,
club. And I think that
that's my
is, for me, his biggest legacy.
yeah. Well, that's my proudest point part of Everton now, because football and the run of the club's been awful for a while. But the one thing that's remained constant is Everton in the community. They do fantastic work with the homeless, with charities to people who've got cancer and other illnesses, and the club really look after them. And, Everton in the community is a fantastic organisation. They do a hell of a lot. And, mainly thanks to him orchestrating that. And, I'm very proud to be part of Everton with that community outlook. And I thought it was very fitting that he gets his just rewards for that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's the key thing to his, and I hope they won't let that slide. Now he's gone. That's my biggest worry is because Moshiri doesn't show any understanding of, from what I've seen of him, any understanding of what makes Everton what they are.
Yeah, but I think it will, because the people behind the scenes there do a hell of a lot of work, and orchestrated by Bill, but they'll carry that legacy on, because I know for a fact that some people who are there, they do fantastic work, and you've got to, and I like to see clubs doing that, because giving something back, because it seems at times that a lot of clubs, all clubs, a lot of the time, are take with the prices of the admission, getting to the ground. They pay a hell of a lot of money, these people, some of them who can't really afford it. And, you've got to give something back. And I think if more clubs did, it'd be a better sport than what it is at the moment. Seems very selfish at the moment, football.
Yeah, it does worry me though without him that it might lax a bit because Charlton were the top community club in English football, as it professional ones I'm talking about. They used to do absolutely so much stuff, and then they got taken over. They got bought by a new owner, and it's just they're just a joke now. They're not. There's nothing there anymore. So I just think
Yeah, let's hope that does not.
yeah, Moshiri needs to remember that the legacy is more, that legacy is more important than a game at the end of the day. Giving
Yeah,
something back to the
absolutely.
community and helping those that actually need help is far more important than what happens in what's basically in essence, much as we all love it and it drives us, it's still just a kid's game at the end of the day.
Yeah, there's just 22 grown men kicking a pig's bladder about. But what I will say is that, if other clubs done as much as Everton, it'd be a far better sport, I think.
Oh yeah.
So good luck to Bill. Good luck to his family as well.
Yeah, that's true. It's the family that often get forgotten at this kind of time. But it'd be nice to get all these tributes and hear how nice how well loved he was and that. So
yeah, it would be good.
right, yeah, it's I think. Oh, hello, Seamus. Nice of you to join us. Oh, he's what's. Oh, music for him now.
Hello, lads!
Hello,
what's going
Seamus.
on here? When did you get entrance music? What is this? Fucking wrestling?
Oh, it's a classic music, isn't it? And I made sure there's no copyright. Not that anyone
I
would
was just
listen
going to
and
ask,
check
should you
that.
check that?
No,
If we get this shut down. That'd be just our luck, that would.
no, it's not copyrighted.
Oh, thank God for that. Yeah, so if we do get shut down, we know who to blame anyway.
I was waiting for you guys to finish the conversation because it didn't feel right to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Especially with the music.
Yeah, I like that though. That was good. Okay. Maybe we should all have entrance music. Billy's would have to be more sort of like Jaws, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure what mine would be, but yeah. Yeah. So should we move on to the games now then? Now that
Yeah,
we've
absolutely.
got our full complement. Unfortunately, Seamus has joined us, so that's the luck over. Probably something will crash now. Again. And it'll all go tits up now. Seamus is with us, well, it's Seamus. That's because you are the luck ender after all.
No, since I'm here now, you can just blame all your incompetence to my
Okay, so there's a lot of that. So
apparent jinx.
there's a hell of a lot of incompetence to cut for that to be blamed on you, mate. I don't think you want it all blamed on you. Right, anyway, should we get to the games then? We'll start with
Absolutely.
Start with the important result of the weekend, obviously, the Merseyside derby. Sonny Bill, what was the score again?
Yeah.
Can you tell me? Without whining about the referee.
It was Liverpool's 12 against Everton's 10. Liverpool were gifted a 2-0 win.
Well, yeah, we gifted by Everton because they were so shy, let's be honest. I
thought both teams were shite, I'll be honest with you. I don't think Liverpool were very good either.
Awful. Have you ever seen them all limp, lackluster, less fiery, less hard? You know, it just was weak, wasn't it?
It was a very weak derby, to be fair. So, you know, couple of incidents that happened. Go on, Deeps.
Don't you want to replay? Klopp has set the standards now. Bad referee calls, you go for replay.
I don't think that's quite the standard, though, is it, Seamus? That's when the officials knowingly decide to ignore the fact that the decision's wrong and carry on anyway, even though they could have got the correct decision, but they carry on anyway. So that's falsifying the result rather than what happened there.
No. I think
made a decision that some people in their infinite lack of wisdom decided was an incorrect decision.
I think what happened is that the PGMOL just decided that now they need to.
Can you speak up a bit, Seamus? Sorry, you're a bit quiet.
The PGMOL decided that they need to favor Liverpool a little bit now, so I'm afraid of saying Liverpool now. I think you guys have reverse you guys have used reverse psychology against him, and now they're just too afraid.
Right.
I'm with you, Seamus.
That must be why they gave that Diaz penalty that was as clear a penalty as Konate was a sending off. In fact, more clear because at least there was actual contact rather than just the player diving to try and get someone sent off.
Yeah, he's seen him out. That wasn't a penalty, the Diaz one. He's seen him out.
But he hasn't. He's caught him. You go and watch it again, Bill, from different angles. He's definitely caught him. That's as clear a penalty as the Konate one was a foul. Was a booking. So you can't say.
No, for what it's worth. For what it's worth, I think there should be a replay. I think there should be a replay, Billy. You guys have been wrong.
I don't, I'll be honest with you.
Well, you're scared of losing more heavily. Is that why you don't want to
the three incidents I'd like to talk is the and I've got no problem with it, is the sending off. Ashley Young's sending off. Now, it was 2 fouls. I've got no problem with that. I've got no problem with the sending off. But, you look back at football and you think to yourself, is every foul got to be a booking? I'm not happy with that. Go on.
I was just going to say, he also, in between the two bookings, he also gestured at the referee that he should have booked a Liverpool player after his first booking, and he also kicked the ball away at one point. So he was on. It wasn't his. It wasn't 2 fouls. That was 4 bookable offences, and he got booked for 2 of them. I think I think the referee gave him a chance, and when he did that again, he's like, you know what I mean? I can't keep giving you chances, lad. If you're going to be an idiot, you're going to get sent.
Now, Now, if you want, I'll agree.
Should have been booked.
I'll agree. 100%. I'll agree if he'd have come over and said when he gestured about giving Liverpool a card. If the referee had said you're out of work, but he never actually questioned him on it or took it in. And the other one was when he kicked the ball away. Kicking the ball away, it's a bit petty for me, but he should have said to him, you're treading a fine line here. But he never actually pulled him up about that. He should have, but he never.
But that's my point is, we're getting it, the referee was lenient with you. It wasn't like he just said, right, that's it, 2 boot. It wasn't like he just was being harsh. He did give.
As I say, I've got no problem with it.
Even if he was wrong to do so.
The only problem I've got is that it seems that there's a big clamour for people to get booked now for every tackle. It could be slightly missed time, or if they're a little bit high, send them off.
Yeah.
And it's just the game's gone really soft, hasn't it? You're not going to Tommy Smith and people like that, Graham Souness. They'd have laughed if you'd have been sent off there for that or booked for it. I think football's gone very soft. For me, it has anyway. That's just my point.
For me, I would rather he sent him off for the kicking the ball away and telling him to show a yellow card, because to me, they're far more, they're far more annoying than just a mistimed challenge. They're the the things that are really ruining the game. Is players trying to convince the referee to send players off. That's supposed to be stamped out of the game, and they should be doing that. And if they boot them for that and keep on them, it will stop, because players will soon learn we can't get away with it. But instead, they did it a couple of times, and it only seemed to apply to certain players. I mean, we saw in one of the game where Trent Alexander-Arnold got booked for it, while at the same time a Newcastle player did exactly the same thing right in front of the referee.
Andy Gordon was,
exactly. He did it right in front of the referee, boots the ball away and that, and he gestures for a yellow card for that, and they are getting booked. So it's only certain players it only applied to, and at certain times. This is the thing. It's the referees again at fault, and they can blame the players all they want, but they have the power to make the players behave, but they choose not to use it. They can make the players stop diving by booking them for diving. They have the power to do so, but they choose not to. So when people keep saying the players don't help them, I agree, but that's not their job to help them. The referee's job is to enforce the rules, and they're not doing it, and that's where the issue is stemming from.
Yeah, and another big talking point was the Canati possible send-off. Now, I'm not going to be two-faced. I've said it, and I believe it, that, the game's gone soft. If he'd have got sent off, that'd have been soft as well. He'd put a little tug at his shin, maybe caught his ankle, whatever, after people. But, do we really want to put, 8-a-side football in the second half, every game?
Yeah.
Just, I'm not trying to be sexist, but man up and, hard tackles, hard challenges. If it's slightly missed time, give them a warning and say, do that again, and you're going to get booked. But, for 2 tackles to get sent off, and I know you're going to say about the other things that happened, but take that into consideration and say, warn them, say, next time you're off. But, it just looked very petty to me. The 2 incidents looked very petty to me.
I just think when he went down, if he'd have just stayed on his feet, and Konate might well have ended up giving him the getting himself sent off anyway. I think he cost you the chance to get Konate sent off because he threw himself to the floor looking to get him sent off. If he stands up, Konate's prone to pulling players back. He's prone to grabbing and holding. And he's going to do, you know what I mean? When you're watching it, and I looked at it and went, oh shit, as soon as he reached out, but then he pulls away. And then the player throws himself to the ground after he's pulled away. And I'm thinking, oh, you know what? You're an idiot because you had a chance there to actually go, just stay on your feet, force him into doing something, and instead of diving, and you've actually got a chance of getting him sent off. That's your player cost the chance there. But I think he just saw. I think he just thought, shit, I've got nobody in front of me to play it to. There's, I'm on my own here. Nobody's gonna break with me because they're all defending. And you've taken off. I mean, what the fuck was that all about? Taking off your wingers and that, like, you just made it easier for Liverpool. But like, yeah, so like, there's nothing ahead of me. There's nobody going to come up and help me. So I'm on my own, and I'm 80 yards from goal. I'm not going to run all that, am I? There's plenty. There was 3 players or so back. I mean, I've got to do. There's nothing I can do here, so he just threw himself to the ground. That's how I looked at it. It's kind of just.
Another thing I couldn't understand was why the referee never gave the penalty against Michael Keane straight away. He looked as though he was putting his hand out for a bus. It was that wide, and he never gave the penalty. He had to go to VAR.
Yeah,
that's poor refereeing. That's poor refereeing.
But I don't understand. Some Everton fans actually think that shouldn't have been a penalty. I don't see how that one you can complain about. I mean, you cannot put your arm out like that. You can't. Not in the box.
I couldn't believe why he done it in the first place. Why would you stand there with your arm out unless you were expecting a bus to pass or something?
He's making himself bigger. It's the same when when players put their arm out. When they're trapping someone in, you're making yourself bigger. Now I know you're not. It's not the intention. Isn't to hold the ball. It's to stop a player running past you. But you're making yourself bigger. But you're attempting to impede their progress. So either way, you're going to commit a foul. You're looking to commit a foul. Either way, anyway.
It looked pathetic to me. I'll be honest. You should. Why he's on the team anyway is beyond me. But that's another point.
Ridiculous decision. I did a watch along, and I even said when he came on, I said that's good news for us. I fancy us to go stroll this now, because he'll make an error or 7, and we've got to that's it. It's an easier job. I think we've got the one I wanted to talk about though. I've got to say, Tsimikas 100% should have been at least booked in that match.
Oh, he created a lot of fouls. He gave a lot of fouls away in that match. Early on, especially early on, yeah.
I mean, they were.
He's very lucky not to have got a card a lot earlier,
Yeah, he was definitely the one who got. That's the one I think, and I don't understand why there's not more fuss made about that one, to be honest, rather than the others.
I'll tell you one thing that I can't understand with Liverpool supporters, and some of them are my friends who I go to watch the game with. Some of them are online, even on the site, about Mo Salah. He's scoring goals every week, and they're all moaning about that he doesn't contribute enough. And the man's putting the ball in the net. He put in twice, and he had a moan about him online. He doesn't deserve his place. What? The man's record speaking for itself.
He did have a bad game, as in his touch was off and that, but he scored 2 goals, so you take that all day.
Exactly. Absolutely, you would.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. What would you rather have? A player who miss? It's the same with Jota. When he scores, it doesn't matter how bad his touch is. That makes up for it. You know what I mean? it's just you just put up with it. I've got to say that's the big mistake. I think two big mistakes were Liverpool's choices. The starting lineup and Everton's half-time substitutions. I think they were what ruined the game for me. Starting with McAllister in defensive midfield and Jota up front instead of Nunes was two bad decisions.
I'd say that.
And the worst, though, has to be the Everton changes at half-time. What was that about, Bill? Try and explain that one to me, because I don't understand what the thinking was. Can you explain to me what the thinking was there?
I wish I could. I really do wish I could. Obviously, a defender was going to have to come on and a midfielder or a forward to go off. I can see that. You're down to 10 men. You've got to try and get something out of the game. But for it to be Michael Keane, don't wrong, Godfrey's been goddamn awful since COVID. But he'd have been a better choice for me than Michael Keane.
Did you need a centre back, or because you had a you only needed a right back to come on to replace Young, surely?
Then that's all we needed.
Yeah, and then bring a midfielder in instead of to shore up the midfield like Gay. You've got Garner Gay there, who's a defensive midfielder who will run around all day. He might be a bit off the pace now, but at least he'll work hard and protect the defence. Surely that would have been a better option.
I agree with you, Tristan, and I think a lot of people do. None of the lads on the site could understand why he brought Keane on. Okay, bring the full back on, bring Patterson on. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Go back to a flat back four, and that would have done. And try and get something out of the game. Yeah, Everton defended too much, but you can see why. But the choice of personnel was just wrong for me in the second half. Just wrong. And I'm a Dyche fan, but he's made a couple of errors there.
Yeah, I was really disappointed with that. Seamus, you're a tactical expert. You know your managers. Come on, mate. Explain this. The Sean Dyche's tactical substitution at half time there.
Maybe he was trying to just park the bus.
Yeah, but you don't bring on Michael Keane to park the bus, do you? Because he'll just crash you. At the very least, he
is a bus.
Yeah.
No, he is a bus. He needs more time to take a turn than the bus, but I don't know what he was trying to do, because maybe that's why he's a manager and we're just like two old guys in one young mind talking about football in an obscure YouTube podcast. Maybe that's
don't
the
call yourself
difference.
An old man, Seamus. You're not that old, mate. Obviously,
Keane's worse than Harry Maguire.
Oh, Harry Maguire's been better. He's actually been influencing. He's been influencing the games for us in a positive manner, actually.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, for once in his Manchester United career, Slabhead has actually been Slabhead.
Wow.
Yeah, and Onana's back on form now. You see the flavour of the month.
No. He wasn't even flavor of the day until the last game.
Shows how bad United have been if those two are suddenly turning into saviours, though, doesn't it?
No. Onana saved a penalty, but Maguire has actually provided positive impact. But I think he wasn't playing for either Everton or Liverpool.
Yeah. Just to finish on the Everton-Liverpool game, I thought it was a very poor game. I thought Everton were awful and Liverpool weren't that much better. They deserved to win, of course they did. But I thought Liverpool were poor as I've seen them this season. And as you say, a lot of it was to do with the selections that Klopp made to start. But that Tsimikas is not a good player. You miss Robbo there, definitely. And McAllister out, as you already touched on it, playing as a defensive midfielder when he's not a defensive midfielder. And Jota up front, who doesn't offer much. But Liverpool's balance wasn't right in the game, and they very slow in the build-up, and against a very poor Everton side, I must say. But I thought Liverpool's build-up play was really slow and laboured, and I was I thought they'd have murdered us once we had a man sent off. I thought you'd beat us anyway.
We were worse after we had 10 men. After you went down to 10 men, we were even worse. But I've got to say, on Tsimikas, you're saying he's not a very good player.
I don't think he is.
Well, before when he was initially came in, he got, he came in when Robertson got injured and he was out for a while.
Yeah,
he came in and he had a good run of games. He was playing really well.
He done really well then. Yeah,
he was a very good player. Then, as soon as Robertson got fit, he just got dropped immediately, and since then, he just looks like his confidence has gone, because it's just like,
maybe.
He just looks, and every time he plays, he just seems to try too hard, and I think that's the issue with him, and that's why you get those stupid challenges where he should have been at least booked once. You know what I mean? He was very lucky to get away with it. I think that's his problem, is he's just trying too hard to impress now, and he's not playing his game. And he, until he settles down and feels comfortable, playing and knows that if he has a good game, Klopp will give him a run. He's not going to be able to settle down and perform, and I just don't think it's going to happen. And sadly, it's always going to be, he's never going to hold down a place. He's never going to reach his potential, and that's why he's going to end up just being
at one stage. At one stage, 2 years ago, it was a toss-up who the Liverpool supporters wanted to play fullback. Whether it be Robinson, some were saying Tsimikas has done absolutely nothing wrong, come in, done really well, Robbo shouldn't get back. He got back. Tsimikas, as you say, he got frozen out a bit there. But he was doing really well. When he first come, I thought, he's a really decent player, But I've got to say, on Saturday, he looked bloody awful. For me. But as you say, that could be confidence. He might not. His heart mightn't be in it, knowing that he's going to get dropped as soon as Robinson's fit or whatever.
I think his heart's in it. He loves Liverpool. He's very much a Liverpool fan. This was his dream. He forced through the move to come over to Liverpool. I just think he's, it's just a player. It just shows where if you get a player who's playing well and you dump him for the minute somebody else is fit, it just shows how it affects their game. Mentally, they can't do this. They simply can't reach their potential because they know they're going to get dropped no matter what they do. How can
I wasn't having a go at him for not being a Liverpool supporter or not loving the club. He mightn't like the setup where he's always he's going to be the fall guy for for Robinson to come back in, and he knows that even if he plays well, he's probably not going to start if Robinson's fit, and that's not the way football should be, in my opinion. If you come in and do well, you stay in until you're not doing well. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. And I think that'll put people on a downer. It will put you on a downer, definitely.
It's odd because Klopp has there's a few players that he either will not trust no matter how well they play, or just drop them anyway, no matter how well they're playing. And other players that no matter how badly they play, no matter how out of form they play, if they're fit, they start. Like Robertson, no matter no matter when he's out of form, he's still always picked. And I love Robertson, but sometimes you just think he could have done with a rest at times over the season because he's, been out of form. Maybe having a week off would done him good, but it was, Klopp wouldn't do that. And you get players like Minamino and now Endo who just can't get a game. No matter how well they, no matter what they do when they do play, they're not going to get a game next week. It doesn't matter. It's like Endo will probably play tonight, but full well at the weekend it'll be McAllister back in that position, even though he can't play it. It's ridiculous.
Would you put Nunez in that bracket as well, Tris? His face doesn't seem to fit, because I thought he would have been a great option against Everton because of his speed. Perfect. I thought he should have started. I've thought that a few times this season that, I've backed him to be the first goal scorer, and I've got my money back because he hasn't started, and I think, he's so dangerous. All right, his finishing is not great, but he had so much threat. You know, I would actually prefer him to Diaz. I know a lot of people don't, but I really like him on the left. I think he's.
I don't think you have to choose between them. I think he has to start in the centre. He's been absolutely superb linking with Salah. And Salah's best games have come when he's played alongside Núñez this season as well. His best performances have all been alongside. Why pick between, play Diaz alongside Salah and Núñez? That's the perfect trio right now for my money.
Yeah.
That's who I'd go with every time. But especially against Everton, you played quite a high line. There was a space there for Núñez to run into and attack. And we all know Pickford's rash as hell. Put him up against a player like that who's going to be buzzing around, chasing lost causes and that, and he's liable to come herring out of his goal, getting nowhere near the ball, and either concede a penalty or, just get caught out and it be put in the back of the net. That's what I mean. He could end up either conceding a penalty, get sent off, or it's in the back of the net and he's nowhere to be seen because he's come flying out and missed it. And I just don't understand the thinking of not playing. The only thing I can think of is I'm hoping Klopp looked at it and just thought, you know what, I'm a bit worried he might, if it's blood and thunder derby, he could have, he could get himself sent off. But as it wasn't one, I don't think that was something to be feared.
Did you watch the game, Deeps? Sorry, Chef. Deeps, did you watch the game, the Everton-Liverpool game?
Unfortunately, I didn't.
Right, okay.
I did manage to tune into Chris's silent stream.
It was so bad.
I asked him a question, but didn't hang on to hear his answer. Is Pickford actually the best English goalkeeper in the past 20-25 years?
Yeah, and we were trying to come up with with a better keeper between us on the, on there, and like
the only guy that can get a case made for him is Joe Hart.
No,
because he won that.
He's
won all that.
Yeah, that was the thing. I couldn't think of a better English keeper than Pickford over the last 20 years, and that is quite sad.
Told you, top five, told you, you wouldn't have it.
No,
top five, my ass.
No, we're talking about English keepers. He's one of the better.
No, he's the top five
English.
Shite.
Yeah, that's all. It's not because he's any good. Sorry, Seamus, go on.
Pickford would be one of the top 5 English keepers, but if we're talking about in the Premier League, then hell no.
No, not even in the. It wouldn't. If you were talking about Premier League all time, he wouldn't even be in the top. 50 maybe, squeeze in the top.
He'd be at number 3.
It would be funny. I'm not even sure he'd be at the top 3 at Everton, let alone number 3. I know Howard. What's his face? Neville Southall must have been. Would he still be there in the Premier League era?
Yeah,
just on the cusp of it.
Yeah. He'd have to be top 1. It's Howard and
Nigel Martin.
Well, yeah,
good keeper.
I'd forgotten about him. I was thinking of the other guy. Who was I thinking of? Can't remember now. Oh, completely lost. Gone out of my head now. Completely the other one. Yeah, he wouldn't make the top 3 in Everton Premier League keepers. Let's be honest.
Yeah, some good keepers. But let's move on to the next game, Chris.
Yeah, so I was just thinking, we were with Bournemouth, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Did either of you two see this?
No, I didn't
actually watch this one because obviously I wanted to see the Gary O'Neill derby.
I couldn't give you the scoreline if you bet me 1,000.
It was 1-1.
Oh no, 2-1 to Wolves. They won. They came.
Sorry, sorry, it was 1-1. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Even Billy doesn't know. The score.
I don't know. It was 1-1 on my Cuban, and I thought I'd got the result right, but I was wrong. Yeah, it's 2-1. It was. Yeah, they scored.
Yeah, it was.
They 1-0 down, I think, weren't they?
It was really interesting. I really loved it because obviously you want to see Bournemouth pay for what they did. The way they sacked O'Neill was
Yeah,
horrible. It didn't feel right at all to sack him like after he'd done pretty much a miracle to keep them up, and then just dump him like that. I was glad they lost. See them
yeah.
going. I
And
can
it
see
was
Areola going soon.
it was the Everton Slayer that did the job, so no wonder Billy doesn't remember.
Slayer.
Yeah, Kalajdzic.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
scored a late goal against
Yeah,
Everton as well.
Good
A late
goal.
winner.
He looks a good finisher, him. So, yeah, I was actually, I think the scoreline flattered Bournemouth, to be honest. You know, they didn't
I
deserve
think to
that
the
goal.
poor side, yeah.
It was against the run of play. They were not good at all, Bournemouth. They were completely done by Wolves, and they got lucky with their goal. And you know, it was a very definite Wolves deserved the win. Full stop. You know, it was one of those.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it puts Bournemouth in real trouble of relegation. I mean, it says how bad they must be because the three that got promoted are god awful, and to be in amongst them, that's embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think we all said at the start of the season that Bournemouth struggled this year.
Mm.
And, you know, even if Everton do get a 12-point ban, that we're going to talk about later, you know, I still think they might have enough to survive. It'd be tough, but, you know, the three sides who come up and Bournemouth look really, really poor at the moment.
Yeah, that is exactly how I see it. Is that like even if you got a 12-point deduction, I don't think that relegates you this season because of those 4 teams.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
I think you can still finish fifth from bottom.
I think there is a genuine chance that at least 2 or 3 teams finish below 30 points this season.
Oh yeah, I think that somebody's going to set a record for the lowest score ever. I think. That bad.
Sheffield United are probably going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Burnley are just as bad, and so are Bournemouth and Luton. I know they're picking up the odd draw, but you know, even so, the results they're getting, they're not deserving. You know, it's not like they've been in games. They're just hanging on.
Luton just look like they're happy to be here. They just give up that vibe.
Yeah, I think you're right, Seamus.
Yeah, it just seems like they're here for the participation trophy.
Yeah.
To be fair to them, you can understand that because it's not like they're a big club.
I'm not going to criticize them for that.
Yeah, this was a big shock them making it up.
Yeah.
Good luck to them, but I can't see them staying up. Anyway, we're actually talking about Bournemouth anyway. I can see this is the thing. Normally, you'd say, I mean, that bottom three, you know, the promoted sides are so bad, you would assume they go straight back down. But Bournemouth have actually proven themselves to be just as bad. So
yeah, they are just
No, but with Bournemouth, you can at least see like maybe if they have a change of manager, then we can see enough quality scattered around.
How much longer do you think Iraola's got?
If it was any other manager, then I would have thought he would have been gone by now. But since they handpicked him, brought him in to replace a guy who was doing fairly well, so he probably gets a longer rope. Otherwise, he was already gonna.
That's how I see it. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I think that's the only thing that's keeping him in a job as well. Is, you know, they can't be seen to just dumping him off yet because though they pretty much didn't they pretty the chairman pretty much admitted after the game that that was what he said was that was on him, you know, choosing Gary O'Neill, choosing to get rid of Gary O'Neill and bringing Iraola in. But the way he said it it sounded like he was admitting that he got it wrong. The way he said, the wording he used very much sounded like he was saying, you know what, I fucked up. You know, that's how it felt.
Yeah.
Rather than him saying, I've made this choice and I'm going to stand by it and I think it's the right choice, it did very much feel like he was saying, shit, I've made a boo-boo there.
But it was a bad decision to bring Areola in. But it's the same with Birmingham when they brought, they sacked their manager. I know it's not Premier League, but they sacked to bring Rooney in, And what's Rooney done? He's another Frank Lampard. The same.
We've not talked about that yet.
Didn't we talk about it last week?
Did we?
I think so. I don't know, maybe not.
No, yeah, we haven't talked about it this week. I think we did touch on it last week. Yeah, but, why do clubs do this when a manager has a say? They were in the top, they were in the playoff places. When they sacked the manager who's done I thought was doing a fantastic job for Birmingham. And they just throw that all away to bring Wayne Rooney in. That's wrong. The same with Gary O'Neill. They've done exactly the same with him.
Yeah, you could understand it with Birmingham if it hadn't been there just a few seasons ago. They did a similar thing with getting rid of, was it Rowett they got rid of? When they were doing
Gary
well,
Rowett.
they brought in Zola because they wanted the big name, and they nearly got relegated because of it. So you've got a recent example to look at and say, you know what, let's just hang on, let's just be happy with what we got and see how we get on. We can always, if we get promoted to the Premier League, we can always we'll see and then if we don't get it, we can change it in the summer. But why Rooney? That's the big question. He couldn't even get this team to the DC United to the playoffs in the MLS, which is almost almost impossible because there's only like 3 teams a season that don't get into the playoffs.
Yeah. It's just wrong, isn't it? Though it is wrong that if the manager's done nothing wrong, why get rid of it? It's just bad football management for me.
Okay, you're the Bournemouth owner. You're looking at it, you've decided, no, time's come, change it. We've got to get rid of Areola. This just isn't working out. We know what he was meant to do. You know how good he was meant to be, but it's turning out he hasn't got a fucking clue what he's doing. We're going to have to change it. Who do you go for?
Gary O'Neill.
Oh, that would be funny, but I can't see him taking this.
Well, some of the candidates for me, if we're done taking the piece, would be Graham Potter. But I don't know how much. I don't know how much of a possibility that is. Julian Lopetegui is another name I'd be interested in. Again, I don't know how interested he would be. Then there's Oliver Glasner. There's Marcelino, who recently left Marseille.
Yeah. Yeah, good show.
Another guy I'd try and look at, and I'm just talking about the managers that are out of job.
Well, they need something because they're going to find themselves relegated.
If they want a big name, then Ruud van Nistelrooy did a fairly decent job at PSV.
Yeah.
Maybe he's worth a look for them. But it's a very difficult question to answer when you're trying to pick a manager for Bournemouth because let's face it, they're not even actually a small club. They're even smaller than the small clubs.
Yeah, that's high. They've got what, 10,000? Is it? What is it? 15,000?
I think it's around 11, 12, maybe.
Yeah.
Like you said, 14, but it's not over 50.
Yeah, it's only a small ground, and they're
and they don't have a fan base either.
No, they're not. They're a small club basically. Whatever way you want to look at it, they're not a big club.
No, but I think they could have done better than Rooney. But I might be proved wrong at the end of the season. But I don't like the way it's happening. Going back to Bournemouth. Go on, mate.
I think the Bournemouth owners, the owner has shares in the what's that club? Lorient. Is it Lorient or Lens? One of
Ooh.
them. Maybe.
Oh, I don't know now. I
Maybe
thought it
they
was
can do it.
Lorient. Lorient sounded right. I'd have to look it up, but I don't.
I think it's Lorient. Maybe they can look into bring the manager from
Do you
Lorient.
know? Do
because
you know
they've
why?
done this pretty well.
One, if I'll try and get not a chance it's going to happen, but the one that I'm surprised hasn't had more big clubs sniffing around him is Fisher.
Oh yes, the Union Berlin. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I would have, if I was the guy running Dortmund, I would have gone after him with everything last season. Maybe it's because of the club, Union itself being a bit of a hippie club. Maybe
He's very fit. He
isn't
fits
the
very
same.
well there, to be fair. I don't know if you know anything about him, Bill, because you've gone very quiet.
No,
Do you know what we're talking
no, I
about
don't
here?
need no.
Union Berlin manager. He took him up from like second tier. Is it second or third tier? I can't remember
Yeah,
where he took him over. Now he's taken him into the Champions League this season, and he's worked on virtually no budget, and he's worked pretty much a miracle, hasn't he?
oh, they've comprised of players. They have a lot of Jamie Vardy's and your
Bonucci
similar,
is there now, isn't he?
similar type of player.
Goosens.
At least Guzin says like he came through it at Atalanta. They have a lot of unfancy players who were struggling to make the bench for other struggling teams in the past.
Yeah, but Goosens
And
was struggling as well. He'd had a few injuries and that, and teams, he was starting to struggle for form, and he's gone there, and he seems to have revived. Fisher's just worked a miracle, mate, and it's not just that. It's something that the whole club, the feeling around them, he's built up is different. Yeah, like Seamus said, they're almost a hippie club. They're a very odd club.
And they don't spend much, and even now they don't spend too much money on transfers.
Yeah, they're not a rich club by any means. They're not a big club or a rich club. That's why I was thinking someone like Bournemouth. You have to, with the
Burnley,
at least ask the question.
Yeah, actually, Berlin is a very good example for how football is meant to be run, because Hertha Berlin tried for they tried for about half a decade to spend their money up the league, and now they're in Bundesliga as well.
Yeah, whereas Union
Berlin spend less than us in fees. I'm pretty sure we not just Man United, the likes of United, Liverpool, City, the so-called big clubs, we probably spend more on agent fees alone than they spend on the team.
Yeah, and they produced a very good team. Yeah, they're very impressive. I mean, he's got them in Europe. I mean, that's incredible. Anyway, we move on to the next game, Brentford-Burnley.
Yeah, go on, mate.
Brentford won 3-0. Either of you see it? I didn't see this
one. No, it wasn't one I wanted to really watch, to be honest. I think, wow. Brentford just haven't fired this season. Burnley look an absolute shadow of the team that come up, who we all thought, well, most of us thought that they'd have a decent season, but they look awful, don't they, Burnley? And I think he could be in the final. I know I said it last week, or the week before last I said it, that, I don't think he's as safe as some people imagine he is. And I don't know whether Burnley will move for a manager themselves, because it's just not happening for them. And they look a bad side as well. It's not as if they're having hard luck or waiting for players to gel or putting a good effort in. There looks nothing there, and he could be the next manager out the door for me.
They're getting worse, if anything. For me, I think they just bought badly in the summer. I've said it 100 times. I don't think they've bought a good goalkeeper. He's not suited to the style of play Burnley want to play. I do not understand why people rate him. He can't kick, and yet they bought him to play a passing out from the back. So yeah, he bottles it under pressure. He's arrogant, shockingly arrogant lad. Really is full of himself, and I think that's kind of symptomatic of where their problems lie. They're just not good enough, and they think they are, and it's costing them. And I can see what you mean. I can't see how much longer he can last when they're getting worse. You know? Yeah, I think you've got a good point. Even though I think they don't want to get rid of him, but I think they'll have to at some point this season.
And it carries on. Yeah, he's got to have a dramatic change in fortunes for him to survive, I'd say. And when it gets after Christmas, if they haven't picked up significantly, I think he could be well out the door, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they do look in trouble. Right, next one, Man City 2, Brighton Hove Albion 1. I think that's expected. City took their foot off the gas and let Brighton back in by all accounts because it was just a stroll in the park.
2-0 it was, yeah.
Yeah. And then they took their foot off the gas and Brighton managed to pull one back and make a game of it. But it was pretty much, by the sounds of it, very easy. I don't think did either of you see it?
I see the highlights of it. I didn't watch the game, but I watched the highlights of it. And you're right to a certain extent. City did take the foot off the gas. Brighton were pretty poor outfit they looked at the weekend. But what I will say is City don't look half the same. I know they've been missing players, and it affects missing players like De Bruyne. You're bound to not be as good as what you are when they're in the side. But City don't look like the City of last year and the year before. They don't look to have the wherewithal and the grit and determination that the players usually have at City. I'm very respectful of City, because not as a club, but the playing side with the team ethic, and they don't look to have that this year. And that's why I think there's a gap for someone to come in and take that league away from City this year.
I think without Rodri, they're a shadow.
Yeah, he's what a player he is. He's a fantastic player.
What do you think, Seamus?
I kind of sort of agree with Billy, but also I'm a bit fearful that despite what seems like a bit of a hangover for City, they just still look better than the rest of the league. Like, they seem to have a lot more quality than the rest of the league, despite not being on full throttle.
Yeah, it's quite worrying when Rodri comes back and De Bruyne comes back. The question I got to ask is how much longer do you think? How much do you think De Bruyne has got left in the tank? He's had quite a few of these long-term injuries now. How much longer do you think they can keep him in the side without having to replace him and find someone who can play? Just spends a lot less time injured, shall we say, and he's younger as well, because they do need to be looking to the future, don't they?
Yeah, but it's easier said than done. Finding a De Bruyne replacement is not gonna be easy, and one or two of the rare candidates you could have made out are not gonna be available.
Yeah,
because they moved this summer.
Yeah,
Szoboszlai and Kunku.
Bellingham as well.
Yeah. Bellingham, those guys who could be a bit of a creator, havoc and all that.
Do you know what they're really missing for me? Gundogan. Gundogan's been really, really good for them for the last 3 years. But a really vital cog, and they seem to miss his energy and his goal scoring and his build-up play. I think he's been a massive miss for them, as well as De Bruyne and Rodri being out. I think Gundogan's been probably the biggest miss. Who's that thing? No, I'm finished. That's what I said.
Let's not forget, like Gundogan used to step up when other players were out of the team, out of form, like not scoring. He scored a lot of crucial goals for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he did. I think he was a marvellous player for them. And losing him isn't easy. De Bruyne, as you say, Rodri. If you're without them three players, that's a massive hole in the side. And they haven't been as good as they have been. And that's why. But they're going to get two of them back.
De Bruyne is missing. De Bruyne isn't missing one player. It's missing two players, actually.
Yeah.
Because a certain somebody doesn't look half the player without De Bruyne. So
no.
Chances.
Well, it never looks good against big sides. He only plays well against the little sides. He's a flat trap bully, let's be honest. He's very good flat trap bully, but he's not good against the big sides, is he?
I wonder who were the guys that compared him to Romelu Lukaku.
He is very much like Romelu
I'm pretty sure, pretty sure there were some people in the dark corners of the interweb calling out for having poor duds, a physical brute, flat bully. I wonder what those guys are doing now.
I have no idea.
See,
probably nothing.
Go on, sir. See, for me, it affects the whole side when you haven't got De Bruyne in it.
Yeah.
For the simple reason, you can play Foden in that midfield with De Bruyne, and Foden will have a good game. But when De Bruyne is not in that side, he looks lost, Foden, to me. I think he's a skillful young player. He's still only young.
I think he's overrated. I think he's so much overrated. Yeah. I know he's done pretty well against Manchester United, but
he's not a great
player. He's vastly overrated.
Yeah.
I think he misses De Bruyne more than anyone else. You know, he seems to feed off him, and he leads the side so well that you can have your Foden. You can't have Foden in the side all the time without De Bruyne, whereas you can when he's in there. You know, I think he makes a massive difference to Foden more than any other player. But that might just be me.
Him play better. That's one of his key assets is he makes other players better around him. With his movement, work rate, and passing, he makes it easier for others to play their game. And I don't think Foden might turn into a great player. Don't get me wrong, but the percent he's got ability. But right now, he's not a great player, and he's lost without. I do agree. I think he's lost without De Bruyne to help him. Just looking very average now.
Yeah, I still think. I know I've been going on about City not being as good as they were, but I still think whoever beats Man City will probably win the league.
Definitely.
They have to beat Man City to win the league, otherwise they'd be second, wouldn't they?
No, you know what I'm saying. Whoever finishes ahead of them will win the league, but. Liverpool are up there.
I don't think there's a chance that any team there's more than one team that's going to finish above City, unless a team runs away with it and then City don't have to care about where they finish.
All right, you could be right there.
I think City will be second, no matter what happens. I think it's just top two. Sorry, I mean there's no way they're coming below second. They're first or second, definitely.
Come on, say it. Who's going to win the league? Not City. Who's going to win the league? See who the biggest jinx is.
If it isn't City, I don't think. You know what? Right now, I don't see anybody good enough to win. Nobody's playing well enough to actually look like a team.
I know. If you look at the table,
none of them are actually playing that well.
Yeah, if you look at the table, you see Tottenham, Liverpool, Arsenal pretty close to Chelsea. Not Chelsea, sorry, to City. But if you had to pick one team who's playing the best among them, then it would actually still be City because even Tottenham, they don't play amazingly well.
They've not played well at all. In fact, you look at their results, and a lot of them they've got away with it rather than they've been good, haven't they?
No, the battle well and everything, but
Yeah, they don't
But they
look like
don't
a title-winning
yeah.
side, do they? Yeah, not yet. I mean, they might well become one, but right now they're not playing like one. City look.
They're not gonna win the
Still the
league.
winners.
Come on, it's Spurs.
Yeah,
Don't tell me I live in the. Don't tell me I live in a world where Spurs can win something.
no, no. Well, I remember them winning a cup, but that's about it. Yeah, league. No, you just don't see it happening. Should we move on to the next game then? Because there's not really. I mean, Brighton. Is it just me still, or does anybody else think Brighton are starting to fall away from the team that Potter built, and they're looking a lot worse this season? Is anybody actually agreeing with me yet?
Yeah, I am agreeing with you. They look inconsistent. They're very inconsistent. I've seen them play really well, and I've seen them play really poorly. And I don't think that they've lost quite a few players actually. A lot of the midfield, and I think it's taking effect now. They've still got some good players, but they're not as good as the Potter side for me.
I don't think it's to
But
do with the loss
you
of
have to
players.
give him a pass now. You have to give him a bit of a pass now because, like you said, they've lost about 150 million worth of midfield quality.
Yeah, but I don't think it's that's the issue. It's the way they're playing. And the decisions he makes with regard to rotating the goalkeepers. I mean, that's just asking for trouble. Stupid.
Yeah.
But
like
that's how
Arsenal
the game seems to be heading. Yeah, I was just going to allude to that. That's where the game seems to be heading to right now.
I know what Arteta said, but basically he brought in Raya to replace Ramsdale, not to rotate with him. It's clear because he's put Raya in and left him in there, no matter how badly he's played, and he has been playing poorly. So I don't think you can. I don't think it is heading that way. I think De Zerbi's just not as good as people think he is. I don't think he's very good. I think he's got lucky, and he's living.
And getting back to Brighton, it's worse for them now because apparently Solly March and Welbeck are out for
rest of the season, isn't it?
Long while.
Yeah, I like Solly March.
They didn't specify. Yeah, they didn't specify. Like, they didn't give a timeline, but a long break was the phrase used, I think.
Yeah, that's a big loss. But I just think their problems stem from their manager. You know, he's not helping it for me. I think that's the issue for me. Yeah, they've got a good squad to do better than they are. But anyway, should we move on to the next one before we... Newcastle thrashing Palace 4-0. Anyone see that?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of the goals. Newcastle battered them, but can I just say they're in so much trouble. I'm not saying they're going to get relegated. The players they've lost through injury, they're an absolute catastrophe at the moment, Palace.
Oh,
They've lost so many players through injury, and I feel for Roy Hodgson, to be honest with you, because they haven't got the money. I don't think they've got the money anyway to replace them players, or I've got a decent enough squad to bring players in who can do a decent job, and unless they get players back, they're going to fall into that relegation dogfight because the team looks awful. They looked awful against Newcastle. Newcastle were quite attractive at times to watch, and they were good. They were good against Palace, but Palace were awful. They were never in with a shout in the game. You know, where you think, oh, if they pull one back here, they'll be all right. No, they looked awful from the start. And I know it's through injuries, and they haven't got the greatest squad, but if that carries on, I think they're going to be in a bit of trouble as well. They could get dragged in. Did you watch it, Chris?
No, but I do agree with you. I've seen highlights of it, quick highlights, and I do agree with you though. You can't really judge Palace at the moment. By the same token, you can't really judge Newcastle on that game because they could only beat what was in front of them. But at the end of the day, it wasn't like they were under any pressure. Palace just look absolutely knackered. Every single one of their players looks like they're shattered. Yeah, they just look out. Which is quite weird because I don't understand how they can be at this stage of the season, what, 9 games in? I know they've got a lot of injuries, but still, those players should be able to play 9, 10 games, whatever it is, because a couple of cup games maybe. So, 11 games. They shouldn't be tired yet. It's far too early for this to, for that to be happening. And I find this a bit bizarre how players seem to moan about being tired for no reason. It's far too soon in the season for that to be affecting them.
Professional footballers should not be tired after 11 games, with 2 breaks in between there for internationals as well, by the way. And
exactly.
They just haven't got this. I think the players that they've got coming in just haven't been of the ability to even, even overall in the Premier League. And it's affected the morale of the team. And it looks pretty low at the moment, the morale. And they don't look like a side that's going to threaten anyone, to beat anyone at the moment.
Yeah, they look mentally done for me at the moment.
Yeah, they do look mentally done, yeah.
Maybe they'll be, maybe they just need a few players to come back and it'll give them a lift and they'll improve. But, they really look if it wasn't for how bad the 4 we've already mentioned are, I'd have them tipped to go down this season the way they're playing. but there's 4 teams that are even worse than them at this point. So
yeah.
They should be okay. Yeah. Should we move on there? Because it's not really, unless Seamus got anything to add.
Nothing more.
No. Okay, we'll move on to Nottingham Forest Luton. I don't know if either of you two saw this one. This was the one game that wasn't available live here for some reason. I've no idea why. They show all the games. This is the first time a game hasn't been shown live here since I figured out how to watch them. With this new setup, and I don't know why it was, because I wanted to see how Murillo got on again, because he's been absolutely outstanding. I really, I wanted to look at him. I was thinking that, watch a few games of his this season and do a player profile on him if he carries on playing this well, because I think he's going to be getting a big move soon. But Murillo, their defender, the centre back they bought from Brazil. They've also got another player, Dominguez, who looks a bit of a player as well in midfield, who's looking like a good signing. And obviously they've got Elanga and Hudson-Odoi trying to revive their careers and players like that. So, they're quite an interesting team to watch at the moment, Forest. But I couldn't watch it, which is...
They're doing okay, actually, Forest. Well, they're doing okay. I know they drew the weekend, but they've been doing okay. They've done a lot better than I expected. And as you say, they've got a few good players. And they're big teams again. They're not a bad side at all, Forest. I don't think they're going to be in any danger.
They were cruising at 2-0 up, and then they made a few mistakes with his substitution. I mean, you never change a centre back unless you have to. And Cooper made the mistake of changing Bolly and bringing on Worrell, who simply isn't Premier League quality. No matter what he is, he's not Premier League defender. He's just not good enough. He's not very good at all. Him and that other one, McKenna, who they've been forced to rely on because the others weren't fit. But now they've got others fit. Those two should be nowhere near the squad, let alone the team. He's awful, and he made a mistake, and it cost them and they've ended up drawing simply by letting Luton back in by all that. So. Yeah, but I can't see Forest struggling at all. They'll be fine at the end of the season. They're not going down. The only question
I think so.
How long, does Marinakis want to settle for just avoiding relegation, or after all the money he's been spending, does he want them to push into the top half or something? Is my question.
I think that's asking a bit much of Forest at the moment. They're still fledgling in the Premier League, and I think they'll need a bit more time to establish themselves before they get top half. I still expect them to finish just below the middle of the table, but they are a hard working side, and they've got a few good players. So all power to them. They've come up. They've spent a lot of money. They've done well, and they're not a bad watch either. They all give 100%. And I like Forest at the moment.
They're very watchable. So, what do you think, Seamus? Do you think Marinakis will be content with results as they've been, where they've not exactly been, they've not exactly been storming up the table, but they don't seem to be in any danger of relegation? Do you think he's going to be happy with that after what he's spent, or do you think he's going to be, if they don't improve and move up the table, do you think he's going to be looking to get rid of Cooper and change him? Because he was close to pulling the trigger last season. It was only he got turned down by the man he wanted that Cooper stayed.
Yeah, but for this season, it's pretty much we're gonna sound like a broken record, but there's at least about 4 teams clearly much worse.
And
unless there is genuine threat of relegation, the teams that are battling for 13th don't need to act, because one good weekend of result and you can easily move from 17 or 16 to 12.
I'm not saying I would make the change, by the way. I think Cooper deserves the chance to get a set aside, have a few years, go at the Premiership League and see what he can do. But I'm thinking I actually the question, because he's very prone to pulling the trigger at Olympiacos.
And I actually think Cooper has shown himself to be not good enough to manage this squad. It's not just on him, but it's a huge squad of players from all over the world. It's a different kind of job, and it's a different kind of ask. I would probably be open to letting him go, but I don't think there's gonna be a genuine situation where a change needs to be made for them this season, because Luton, Sheffield, Bournemouth, Burnley, possibly Crystal Palace, and Everton are worse than Nottingham Forest on paper this season.
But I think we were talking about it before, about managers who've done good for the size of the club and for what they should be, expected to achieve. And I think Cooper's done all right. And I think it'd be a mistake if they moved him the same way as the others we were talking about before. O'Neill and who else were we talking about? And Rooney coming in.
Yeah.
That, I think that'd be a mistake of them proportions, to get rid of someone who's moving the club forward very slowly, but he's moving the club forward. I think it'd be harsh to just get rid of him. I'm with Tris on that one.
Yeah, I would keep him I'll give him a bit of a time to settle in and see how he does. He might turn up to be absolutely useless in time, but he's doing a good enough job to deserve to stay, I think, for now.
I think so. I think so.
Temper their expectations, but I just worry with Marinakis. He's very much pull the trigger now and not wait and see. He's very impatient, so I do worry for them. And I think that I'm with you. I think it'd be a mistake, because I don't think they're likely to get someone who's more suited to what they need right now.
Yeah,
Cooper is, just to keep them steady and building. I think he's fine. Anyway, should we move on to the next one? The early evening kickoff was Chelsea Arsenal 2-2 draw. Did either of you two see that?
Yeah, I did. I watched that game actually. I went out and watched it in the pub. And to be fair to Chelsea, they were doing okay. They were doing really okay, and they were the better side for me. Saka looked burnt out. I was surprised at him. I didn't think he had a good game at all. He gave the ball away quite a bit. I'm a massive fan of Saka. But I was disappointed with him. I don't think the keeper is good enough that he's brought in. And I think Arsenal, for all the hype about them, that they're going to be challengers this year, they don't look a side to me that's going to threaten City or even Liverpool. They look a worse side than they were last year. And they brought in Rice, they brought in the keeper. I think they need a striker. Someone who's going to put the ball. I'm not a big fan of Jesus. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I know you keep going on about Balogun going, but they do need a strike. I don't think he's prolific enough. Jesus for me.
Nice.
I think he got lucky at City because he was he was in a really good side. But when you put him in a side that's not as good, he can't raise his game to be the outstanding forward that Arsenal need. And I think that's where they're lacking. They play some nice stuff. Jorginho, how he gets a start for Arsenal, how he gets a start for most Premier League sides would worry me if I was an Arsenal supporter. I don't think he's good. Why they're not playing Thomas Partey? Why they're playing Thomas Partey as a full back half the time, and then out to the side, and then in as a midfielder alongside Rice. It seems a bit of a mismatch to me, and that's down to Arteta. And I know a couple of the Arsenal guys on the site have been questioning Arteta this season because of some of them decisions I've just mentioned. They're not happy about the Thomas Partey situation. They're not happy about the keeper. And they relied so much on Saka, to get them goals, to create chances. And when he's not firing, they don't look aside. And as I said before, I think Jorginho was a massive mistake. For 60 million, did they pay for him? I think he was a massive mistake. But Arsenal don't look a side that's going to threaten the top of the league for me.
Buying players they don't need for money that they could use for players they do need. I mean, this is the thing: replacing players that that were good enough. It just seems to be an Arteta trait, along with tinkering with things that are working, till he destroys them. I mean, this system of the inverted fullbacks that he's using, where bringing in parties to play at right inverted fullback when he's got players who can play there, and rather than playing him in midfield alongside Rice, where he'd be suited.
Yeah.
And I mean, Rice was playing almost left back at playing wide left back. It felt like at some point that game, and when they, it just felt like Arteta's the problem there, rather than Chelsea were doing that well. It was more that Arsenal were that bad. I felt at times.
Yeah. But I must admit, Chelsea did look better than they have been. They played some half-decent stuff. And it looks as though they were going to win that game. You probably should have. Yeah, probably should have put Arsenal to bed earlier than that, but they never. And Arsenal did fight back. They played some decent stuff second half, but that's not the Arsenal that's going to win the league. Not an Arsenal team that's going to win the league for me.
No, City will eat them up all day long at the end of the season. They look Spursy. That's the. I'm sorry to say that about you to any Arsenal fan that may listen. I'm sorry to use that adjective to describe you because obviously that's your main rival. But that's what you look like. You just look to have a soft underbelly to you. And Arteta's the problem for me. I don't think he's the right man for the job to take you on that next level. The amount of money you spent, you should be that next level, but you're not going to be there. What do you think, Seamus? Did you see the game?
Are you still with us?
I've maintained this take for pretty much all this time at Arsenal, but I don't think Arteta is a great manager. I know he has the reputation as one, but every time I see Arsenal and every time I have the misfortune of actually having to watch Arteta, it just gives me Ole Gunnar Solskjaer vibes.
Yeah, that's how I see
it. He knows about the club. He knows about the club. He knows about what's expected of him and everything. But he, at least in my take, maybe it's my bias against Arsenal clouding my judgment, but it seems like he knows the requirements so he can talk a game, but I'm yet to see if he can walk the talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think he's not a very good manager either. He's got lucky. They've first time that somebody's been given huge amounts of money to spend by Arsenal. They had a good, they've had good youth team players to build around, and he's basically just wasted so much money that when they should be a much better side than they are, and I think he's holding them back now.
But as a squad, what can he improve?
Well,
I'm just talking about the playing staff, not obviously.
Yeah, a striker.
We don't seem to.
They need a striker, Deeps. They need a striker.
Why get rid of one?
Yeah, I've never seen much about it, I'll be honest with you. But they've needed a striker now for 2 years. They've got no one who is prolific enough to send us to that next level. You know, the banking on Bukayo Saka to come in, cut in, provide chances, score goals, and when he's on form, he can do that. But he's not going to be on form every week, and he looked a bit burnt out to me. Don't know whether it's the England setup as well, but he looked tired to me. Saka.
I tell you who else is a problem for them. Martinelli, I don't think he's as good as people are making out. There's a lot of people raving about him, but I don't think he's that effective most of the time.
I like him, but I think he's a bit of a luxury.
He's considered by some people to be the best in the league.
I don't see him as very effective. He has far too many games where he's absolutely useless for me. He's one of those players that looks good rather than actually is good. If you see it, does that make sense? What he does looks really nice on the eye, but it offers very little actual effect on the game a lot of the time. For me,
I remember last year he played against Everton. When we beat them at Goodison, and Seamus Coleman absolutely schooled him. He never beat Seamus Coleman, who is knocking on a bit now. He's been a good player, Seamus Coleman. I know it's going back to my Everton roots, but he absolutely schooled him. He never got a kick in the game. And as much as he is a talented player, he doesn't produce it all the time, and he doesn't produce it on a regular enough basis to say he's one of the best players in the league, because he's got skill, but he can't produce it enough to be counted as one of the better players in the league for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Far too often he's marked out the game, or just when he gets the ball, he just wastes it. So, Chelsea are definitely improving though, which not being funny, but they couldn't really get any worse, could they? So it's not really saying a lot.
You took the words out of my mouth, Reece. They're improving, but there wasn't much room to go down.
Yeah,
once he hit rock bottom, the only way is up.
Yeah, and Caicedo's finally starting to actually play like a
footballer
level midfield. Yeah, he's looking like a footballer. He's still not great. He's still not playing as well as he can do, but at least he's not absolutely hideous now for them. So that's a big help. But yeah, they're still not that impressive, are they?
No, I'm still not. I'm still as nonplussed about who actually picked the players that Pochettino's got to find a team with. I don't know whether he had much input into it. I'm still not sure about that. But he's got to try and get a side together out of them players. And I think he's struggling up to now. But I think he is it's finding his feet. And maybe they'll have a better second half of the season. And because there are some good players there. And they've got a history of being a decent club, over the last 20 years. But at the moment, they're not a very good side. But they have got the potential to be a little bit better than what they are. That's all I'd say.
They have a lot of young players who are a bit too similar to each other.
Yeah,
they have attackers who are essentially wingers and forwards that are quite not as effective in front of the goal yet. Maybe they will be, maybe they won't be. They've similar kind of midfielders. They've Caicedo, Lavia, and Ugochukwu, who are pretty much like if you're building a team for a club, then you only want one of them. But they've got three of them, and the issue seems to be having a lot of similar players, but also that not just play in a similar way, but also are in the similar stage in their career. A lot of the players are still not quite ready for the big competitions, big pressure expectations.
Yeah, they needed to. They needed
and
to
the big pressure.
A bit of
they needed to buy they needed to buy players who are like guaranteed starter because of their ability to produce right now, not produce in 2 years' time.
Yeah, they needed a mix of players to come in. Yeah, some players that are ready now and some that are young for the future, and they just bought young for the future. And I can't see that paying off because you'll end up, you're going to end up with three of them and not playing enough because they're having to swap between them. Or one plays and the other two end up not reaching their potential, and you've got to, they're going to get sold
cut
for a
your losses with them.
Yeah. So it just makes sense.
Big money for players like Modric, and even though he scored, he doesn't look the best player to me. When they played, 86 million or something, did he, for Modric? Young lad with a bright future, they were open. And he doesn't look a great player at the moment. I'm not saying he's not going to be. But as you were saying before, they had to buy a mix of players. They had to buy some experience with some a couple of world-class players instead of. It's a bit of a gamble, the Modric's of this world, whether they're going to be able to perform. And at the moment, he's not producing it. And that's a problem for Pochettino.
I mean, they spent huge money on midfield and yet brought nobody in who's a finished product, who's ready to just slot in and take them up a level. They've just bought ones for the future, and it makes no sense when you're spending 115 million on a player for him to be one for the future when you've already got three for the future playing there. They've ended up relying on Conor Gallagher to change his game and become what they need. And while he's done really well, probably been their best player this season, they shouldn't have been. That shouldn't have been what they ended up doing when you're spending £1 billion.
And Fernandes doesn't look the player, does he, that he did in the World Cup? That's for certain. He looks lost there to me. Could be homesick, could be just that it doesn't work, not working out for him. But he doesn't look like the £100 million player either, does he?
No, maybe he's just not, not proving to be worth it. But I just think it's too many young players without, and they're lacking experience to lead them and learn off. So they're not gonna.
Yeah, but like Chris said, they clearly lack a defensive midfielder. That's their issue. That's their issue. We're just talking about midfield. It's their issue. They lack experience in the defensive side.
Yeah.
And they went out and Enzo kind of, at least my opinion of him is, I don't think he's a 100 million plus midfielder, but he needs someone who's a bit more experienced that can do the dirty work for him. So they went out and found 3 players who are younger than him, have less experience than him, and who need even more help getting through the games at this stage of their career.
Yeah, they brought in people that he didn't need alongside him. They've just got it wrong, and their recruitment's been a mistake. It might pay off long term, but I can't see it. I think it just end up you're going to have a lot of players who are not going to reach the potential they would have. This is something they should have been doing when they'd got the solid base done. They needed to get a solid base, a few experienced pros in there first, and then bring in the young players for the future. But instead, they've just brought in young players for the future, and it's not going to work, I don't think. They'll be better than they were, and they're not going to struggle against relegation or anything, but they're just not going to be winning the league anytime soon with this kind of setup. They need to alter their recruitment.
They need an N'Golo Kante. That's what they need.
Well, that's what they brought in Caicedo to do, and then Lavia, and then Ugochukwu. That's it. Put my teeth back in. Sorry. They brought in 3 of them, and that's just ridiculous. You don't need 3 of them. Why bring in 3 at once? Of a similar age, too young to, bring in the one you want, and then look at the other areas. But the biggest mistake was obviously Sanchez. You've got 2 crap keepers that you want to get rid of, so you bring in a crap keeper to replace them. What was the thinking there? In fact, one's probably even worse than the 2 that you were getting rid of. That's the scary thing.
Sanchez is not. Sanchez isn't worse than Mondi or Kepa. He's equally as bad, not worse.
I don't know. Rob would tell you he's worse. I'm with Rob. I think he's one of the worst keepers. I think he's worse than those 2. I don't think Kepa's as bad as Sanchez. I think Sanchez has got all the weaknesses Kepa had, but worse. You know what I mean? He's slightly worse.
I think half of Kepa's issue stemmed from the fact that he's the most expensive goalkeeper ever, and seems to have a bit of an arrogant ass about him.
He's nowhere near good enough, but Sanchez is for me. Sanchez is worse. Whereas Mendy was just bought to be a backup, and as a backup, yeah, he's okay. But as a first choice, he's crap. He's just not good enough. But anyway, we move on.
Who is the backup keeper this season, by the way?
Do you know what?
Chelsea.
I don't actually know. Who is their backup keeper? Do you know, Billy? I'm gonna have to look it up.
Oh, they signed a guy from MLS.
Oh yeah, the
Serbian sounding name, Petkovic or something.
Yeah, surely he's got to be better, hasn't he?
He has to be worth a shot, but
well, they bought Arrizabalaga because Liverpool bought Alisson. They paid a bit more for Arrizabalaga, and there's not much between Alisson and Arrizabalaga, is there?
Maybe a few thousand miles, but yeah, not much.
A few £1,000,000.
I will give you this much, Billy. We talk a lot of fish about Pickford, but I think there's a Jordan Pickford somewhere in between Alisson and Arrizabalaga.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, possibly. Oh, he is definitely in between because one of them's the worst and one of them's the best. So he's bound to be a bit in there somewhere.
Yeah, he's definitely better than Sanchez. I don't understand with Petrovic. How bad must he be that he can't get a game? The others.
No. I think maybe you didn't see it, Chris, but Poch was asked when Petkovic was doing his medical and touring Stamford Bridge and all that. Poch was asked about him, and he had literally no clue who that guy was.
He didn't know who he was, did he? That's right. I remember that.
Yeah, he had to be told by the journalists and the Chelsea staff, the people around the club, live on the stage, that this guy, he's right here at Chelsea and he's about to sign the contract and all that.
Yeah, that was shocking, which shows he doesn't have any real hand in the recruitment, which probably explains why there's such a mess. Because even if I can understand if you want your director of football or technical director, whoever it is, whatever your title.
Yeah, even if you don't. Even if you don't handpick the players, you should be aware.
Yeah, he needs input because he's got to be the one that's got to pick between them. So. Yeah, you need to have a look at that.
Yeah, that's why I started the conversation with, I don't know who picks the players, because I don't know whether Bobby picked the players, the director, or who picked the players. But I think Pochettino's being put out to dry a bit. I don't think he's had much input. That's my thinking on it. and someone else is picking the players. But I could be wrong, I suppose.
No, he's definitely not Pochettino. Like Seamus said, he didn't even know who he's getting. So he's definitely not picking him. Should we move on to the final game anyway? Sheffield United against Manchester United. Final game was Saturday, I meant. The Saturday. It's Sheffield United versus Manchester United, where Man United fluked a 2-1 win over probably the worst team in Premier League history in Sheffield United.
What fluked? What fluked? We were so good. Come on. So two great finishes.
I mean, I don't know what's happening with Man United, but they look awful this season.
Yeah.
What's going on?
You haven't seen much of them things.
No, the worrying part is that was a horrible performance from us, but probably one of our better performances this season.
Yeah, that is quite worrying because that was you have had a really poor season in terms of the performances.
There just seems to be a lack of cohesion.
They don't seem to be any style again. It's almost like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's back, and it's just about hoping players pull something out of the bag rather than having any real style to play, which is strange because we all expected Ten Hag to try and build an Ajax-like system, the way they play, and he doesn't seem.
Oh, but Ajax are in their own turmoil. They're in a disarray.
Yeah, but I mean, like when he was there at Ajax, he produced a very distinct style that was very similar to the way Ajax were known for, always been known for in the past, and without you could put the fact that they're in disarray at the feet of him going, so you would expect better of him at United. This is strange.
Even last year, that is
no. I threw that comment in a random fun way, but it is quite puzzling to me because if, let's say, had he left Ajax and Ajax were doing wonderful and he was struggling with us, then you could put a lot of credit for his success behind the Ajax model and them being a well-run club, having a style, academy, finances, everything. But he's starting to struggle. Ajax are completely they're on. I think saying they're on free fall is understatement, actually. Yeah, they're literally in shambles.
How many games?
I don't know how that can happen.
Because of the fans protesting and.
How many young managers have lost their jobs?
Yeah.
And so what's going on?
What's going on there?
Was Ten Hag actually any good? Because it's certainly not the Ajax system that's doing the business, or so why is he failing so miserably at Man United?
If you just look at Ajax, then you can say losing Ten Hag caused their issue.
Yeah, that's how it looks on the face of it, but.
Yeah, and then if you look at Ten Hag's trajectory at United, then you would probably think losing Ajax has caused this, but they're both in a bit of a downward spiral right now.
Is there something going on behind the scenes at United is what I'd like to ask. Yeah, because last year they done very well. Ten Hag, I was loading him up saying he done a really good job last year, which he did. And he got them, higher than they had been for a while. They were playing good stuff. They were entertaining, and I thought they were on the verge of something big. And it just has. This season has just been such a downer that the only thing I can think of is there's something going on behind the scenes. Because last year he was a very good manager. You don't become a poor manager overnight, and I think he probably was the right man for United, but something's gone wrong somewhere this season. And I'm just wondering, is it behind the scenes?
I think it's a cultural issue at United, actually. So that is why I'm not gonna accept the fact that Ten Hag needs to go, because we've seen this pattern many times before with with variety of managers who come with different profiles. Van Gaal had a decent few games. Ten Hag has had a decent few games. Let's not try and make like last season was all roses and sunshine. There was periods of horrendous play from the team.
Yeah.
Mourinho had a decent run with an identical set of players. Even Solskjaer had a decent run with this identical set of players. Heck, even Rangnick had a couple of games that was looking promising for us. I think it's a cultural issue that needs to be sorted, and
very
and I don't think it's the right moment to decide whether Ten Hag is a great manager or not. I think it's high time we try and rectify the situation that surrounds the playing staff as well.
Yeah, I think you've got to rectify Ten Hag and root out the problems there before you can consider whether it's time to look for a new manager.
Yeah. I think the biggest idiotic move we've made recently is not sticking with Rangnick. The plan that was behind bringing Rangnick is that was the plan when we enticed him from his previous role. I think that kind of sort of also showed that we don't have the guts to stamp authority. Even with Ten Hag, maybe that kind of made Ten Hag seem more powerful than he should be.
Do you know what you were saying there, Deeps, about a culture within the club? Are you talking about the likes of the Mason Greenwoods and the Ryan Giggs issues they had? They're being well documented.
It's not just those. No, it's not just those. It's not just those abusive allegations, shall we say? Because that's how the justice system is made it seem. It's not just because you get players from different parts of world, different parts of life, so you can chalk it off as getting one troubled kid who ended up being a horrendous person, in my view, at least.
Yeah, but there seems to be more at Man United, doesn't it?
I think the
with Anthony.
But Anthony's case, I don't know which side is doing, which side is in the wrong more than the other one, because it seems a lot of allegations thrown from this side to that side.
But that's what I'm saying. They seem to attract players of that ilk. When you look at, as I say, Ted Giggs, Greenwood, Anthony, no one's doubting their ability, but as people, as human beings, do you really want players like that at your club? United seems to have more than the fair share. That's what I'm saying, of troublemakers.
But I'm not just talking about those troublemakers off the field. Right now I'm even thinking the likes of Bruno, the likes of literally everyone whose head just seems to go down, and who just think like it's if you're losing 2-0, then it's okay to lose 4-0 because we're getting 0 points anyways. Those kinds of attitudes.
Yeah.
And those kinds of approaches to the situation and approaches to the game, it seems like the dressing room as a whole accepts that if you lose 2-0 or 4-0, and if you go down without a fight, or if you go down fighting, it's still the same, which is not the same, at least for us fans.
No, you're right. You're totally right there.
Acceptance of mediocrity and defeatist mentality, that doesn't sit right with Manchester United.
That's right at the moment.
As a fan, I'm not demanding that we win every game. I'm not demanding that we play with style every time we go out. I'm not demanding that we win every trophy, but the bare minimum should be the desire to fight for the badge that's on the chest.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
Where do you think it lies, Trish, the problem with United? Where would you say
I
it
think
lies?
Seamus has hit the nail on the head. I think the problem is the players. They've got a wrong attitude. They're there just to, you've got players like Anthony and Fernandez and I can't think who else. I can't think who else plays for them, but they're petulant rather than passionate. If you see what I mean, it's hard to describe. They'll just throw a strop rather than fighting for the to get the points back, to get the goals back if they go behind. They'd rather throw their arms out and arms up and complain rather than just chase and win it back and start an attack and try and get the next decision. It just, that's how it feels like. It just feels like they're just they're just lacking in actual fire and passion and drive and desire. It's more about just throwing a straw when they're very pampered rather than.
I think it comes down to the fact that we don't have as many leaders in the squad anymore. Maybe just getting 2 or 3 players with that never say die mentality, that what Klopp calls mentality monsters. Maybe having 2 or 3 can rub off on other players and improve their confidence, their desire, and all those things. And maybe getting rid of those 2 or 3 mentalities also can help. But I think our issue comes from the weak mentality more so than anything else.
I look at it. You've got a player like Maguire who thinks he's better than he is and thinks he deserves a play. When he's not getting in, he just sits and waits, rather than sits on his hands and waits until he gets back in the team. Not because he's good, but because there's injury problems. And there's a difference between that and a John O'Shea who came in occasionally a bit part player, but he was being used all the time pretty much and playing lots of games in different positions rather than like Maguire, who's just playing one position and would rather say, we'll just throw a strop and be petulant about not being in the team. Rather than saying, well, if you're not going to pick me and I'm not, I may as well go elsewhere. I want to prove, I think I'm good enough to play. He doesn't seem to have the drive, you know what I mean? The desire to prove himself that most would, go out and prove him wrong, If your manager's not picking you and he's not going to pick you unless you're down to 15th choice centre-back, most players would say, right, well, sod this for the game of soldiers. I'm going to go out and go find a manager who appreciates me, and I'm going to prove I'm good enough. He just doesn't. He just seems to think, oh, I'm better than that. I'm not going to go to West Ham. I'm too good for that. And that's where it's.
So, do you know what we were talking about before, Chris, which was Pochettino at Chelsea? Do you think it's been like that for a while at Man United, where maybe the manager hasn't been picking all the players? Because it seems to have a mishmash of players who are talented individuals but not team players. I think that's their big issue with United. With a few clubs actually.
We've scouted. Sorry to interrupt, but I think we've scouted and recruited horrendously in the past decade or so. Whoever the manager and whoever the chairman, the guy, head of scout and player recruitment and everything, whatever the name and whatever the person, but we don't seem to have a vision for recruitment. We don't seem to have a long-term plan.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why I was asking that.
We've only gone after your household names, the guys you sign when you start a FIFA career instead of players you sign in real life.
Yeah, that's why I was asking who's been picking the players over the last 5-10 years. Has it been Ed Woodward or his cohorts or the chief scout or the manager or the owners? Who is actually the man who decides who comes to United? because they seem to have a lot of bad eggs in that side at the moment.
Well, now they clearly, Ten Hag's clearly got a lot of say in who comes in, but it's not.
It seems like Ten Hag has the final say right now.
And yeah, but he's not actually choosing well, is he? That's the problem. Is that he's.
But I'm pretty sure for him it's a new job, because at Ajax the managers aren't managers, they're coaches.
Yeah. I
think it's a mistake to give him this say, because he's out of his depth, isn't it? He's just basically looking at players he's worked with before, or you know what I mean, had some connection to. He's not actually getting the scouts out and finding players for him that can do the role he wants. He's just going back for players he knows, and they're not always. I mean, Anthony. I mean, what on earth made him think? I said it at the time. I watched him at Ajax, and I said he was shit there. I didn't understand how he got in the Ajax team. He was that bad.
Even the Ajax support was like, he hardly turns up for their division games.
Yeah, he wasn't good enough there. It wasn't like it's a surprise that he's not performing. And what's the surprise is that Ten Hag thought he would be good enough. I mean, nobody understood why he was getting picked at Ajax. It was a bizarre one. So, yeah, there is a problem with
what did they pay 90 million for him? Did they pay 95 million? 95 million.
It's shocking, isn't it?
It is shocking when you think of it. Yeah, it's shocking.
Oh my God, that's astonishing. And you think of how bad he is. What is it they call him, the fidget spinner?
Yeah, the 100 million fidget spinner.
I love that. I think that's a brilliant nickname. Let's sum him up as well. He is just absolutely bloody useless. And he doesn't cross, and his shooting's woeful. So you don't want him shooting. He doesn't play. He's not particularly.
He doesn't have much power in his left leg, and his right leg is just for standing.
He's got a lot going for him.
Yeah, it's hard to see what he offers. He actually isn't bad at playing a through ball through. When he gets in the edge of the box, but he just doesn't do it. And
he's got good technique. He's actually got good technique in his left foot. He can shape the ball really well, whether he's trying to cross, shoot, or pass. But like you said, he only wants to do one of those things, and that is his weakest point. You can save the ball all while you want, but you also need to have some power behind it, because you're not facing Onana. You're facing half decent.
But you know what? He might be better as a central midfield, central attacking midfielder, where he can play those through balls, play like a kind of David Silva type role, Bernardo Silva role. But he's just, he isn't gonna.
He's not that.
He actually has decent work rate. He actually has pretty good work rate as well.
But he's just not
in the center. But in the center of midfield, he's just gonna roll around too much and complain too much. He won't get on the ball enough.
Good point.
And you've got Hernandez to do that. You've got Bruno to do that, haven't you?
Yeah, and this is the problem you brought in. He's got a bad mentality, and that should be the first thing you look at before you sign players, as well as checking out their background and making sure that they've not got any allegations.
I again get back to my favorite guy, Ralf Rangnick. He would have been ideal for that.
Yeah, he wouldn't have allowed them to bring in players like that. He'd have made sure the background checks were done and stuff. And that's what you're lacking.
That's why
they're not professional.
I've got a lot of respect for Jurgen Klopp. He's not my favourite manager, but he done an interview about 3 years ago on the television, and he said that he looks at players' mentality, the behaviour, and what sort of person they are, the religious, before their actual ability, because he said he wanted the right players at the club. Ability wasn't the highest thing that he looked for in a player. He looked for the attitude, the mentality, their upbringing, and you can see how that works. It's working for Liverpool, where it's not working for Man United. And that that's where the downfall for me has been United. They picked a lot of players up who are just names, high profile names, rather than the person. He's looked at, they might be an outstanding few games, and it hasn't worked for Ten Hag at all, what he's picked there. And I think he's been pretty poor in his decision making. But
it's not just
I don't know who makes the decisions.
This has been long term. I mean, the likes of Varane, for instance, he was injury prone long before United signed him, yet they paid big money for him. He was injury prone, and the first thing you want in a player is he needs to be available for you. So if he's injury prone, you just forget him, don't you? Move on, unless he's cheap, and he feel or you're a small club who's just desperate for a player on the who's going to play. You can't, what I mean? You haven't got much option, is what I'm saying. You either, but United are in a position where they could have options, and they choose not to look at them because they just want to sign big names.
Anyone thinking Varane was cheap should remember he's like the second, third, maybe like one of the highest paid players at the club.
Yeah.
Let me just put that out.
Ridiculously well played.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they knew he was injury prone. It was, or they would have known if they bothered to check. I'm not sure they actually knew that.
No, if the guys that recruited him didn't know that, then they shouldn't be in a position to recruit any players.
Exactly.
Yeah, until they sort the recruitment out, they're always going to be struggling. That's the thing. Yeah. So, but
you have to look at the attitudes, like Billy said. You have to look at the attitudes, their application, because talent only gets you so far.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it really does. And as I said, that's what Klopp said, and I agreed with him on it. You know what I mean? That is more important than how good a player you are. Your attitude, your mentality. I think they're key things in any player. Someone who's going to work for you, even if they're not having the best game, they're still going to be a factor on the pitch. And, you want players like that, really, before you have these superstars.
Yeah, but that's a bunch of hoo-ha from Klopp. He only looks at players that Rangnick has previously looked at.
Well, that's what he said in the interview.
He's a student of Rangnick. He's secretly a student of Rangnick.
Anyway, should we move on to the Sunday match?
On a slightly serious note, I'm only bringing up Rangnick because he was already at the club and doable. We should have hired someone more accomplished, more competent than the likes we already have at the club right now.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Go on, Trish. What we're going to move on to, mate?
Sunday game was Aston Villa versus West Ham. I don't know if you've seen it, but I did, and Villa were very, very good. West Ham were
a good side.
They were absolutely destroyed, to be fair. Whether that was that they were that bad or Villa made them look that bad is the question now, because it was a 1 win for Villa and it was going on 41. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, Watkins
Villa got a very good side. That Villa got a good side. I mean, I'm a big fan of Ollie Watkins. They've got more than that, though, and I think they're a really decent outfit. I expect them to be, European places this year. They do look like a side. They play together. They're quite attractive to watch as well. I think they're making them a really good side.
What were you going to say, Seamus?
Oh, Watkins is on fire. There's only one guy in the league with more goal involvements than him.
Who's that, mate?
Salah.
Yeah, Salah.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, Watkins.
Yeah.
He's not particularly clinical, which says a lot for how well Villa are playing, how many chances they're creating, because he's not ridiculously clinical. He's good, but he can be a bit hit and miss. But he's been on fire. He's been brilliant since Emery came in. He's looking.
He
No,
leads the
He's
line well. He leads the line very well
Yeah,
for me.
he works hard. Not afraid to
Yeah.
go run the channels and chase back, and be a bit more than just a poacher. No, he links up play. Yeah, he's a very good player. I don't understand how he's taken so long to get in the England setup, I've got to say.
He reminds me a lot of Oli Giroud.
Yeah, underappreciated, you mean?
Yeah, underappreciated, does a lot of things well, but can be wasteful in front of goals. But when he's on a hot streak, there's no one better.
I actually really like Giroud, so yeah, I can see where you go.
No, it's meant as a compliment.
Yeah, no, that's a very good comparison. That's what I'm saying. I really like Giroud, so I can see that. I would take that as a compliment because I think he's a really good player, and I think that's a really good comparison. And right now, since Emery's come in, he's been brilliant, Watkins. He's had a couple of dodgy games, but that's it. It's like you pick them out because they're such a surprise whereas before he could have a few he could have a run of off games. Now it's just one game he's not firing and then he's straight back at it the next game. Emery's certainly shown something there, hasn't he?
Yeah, very much so.
Oh, he surprised me. I must admit, I didn't think he was gonna do this well with Aston Villa.
I think they suit him. Yeah, they're the kind of team that suits him. Whereas
he couldn't have done any worse than Gerrard, though, could he? Let's be honest about it.
That's true. Yeah, but Gerrard isn't doing very well in Saudi Arabia either, is he? Let's be honest. So it's only a surprise. He's not a particular.
There's only 600 there last week, wasn't there? 600 in the ground.
Yes, I think 96, I think it was, which was less than were in tier matches in the 8th and 9th tier English football.
696. I think more people attended my sister's wedding.
Yeah, but that's because it was free food. If they were giving away free food, they'd probably get more food. They get more along the whenever it's which one is he?
Al-Ettifaq.
Etihad.
Yeah, Al-Ettifaq.
Yeah.
I think the next biggest debate in footballing world is gonna be who's the worst of the lot or who's the best of the lot. Gerrard, Lampard are goals in terms of managerial career.
And Rooney. Don't put Rooney in right now.
No, let's not bring Rooney. We at least you guys have grown old.
Gerrard, argument again.
Yeah, but now who is a better manager of the three? And I think every passing year makes Scholes look better because he's not been involved for so long.
Yeah, because he started his job. That's true. He's
out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, he's fucking awful, but at least he's not managing anymore, so he's better than the two that are. Yeah.
But at least people don't know he was awful.
Yeah.
Or how awful it was.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that is a very fair point. Those three are truly dreadful managers, it must be said, and it's
at least Scholes learned within a month that it wasn't for him.
Yeah. The only thing Gerrard can point to is he won the SPFL with Rangers. Took him 3 years, and there was only one of the teams.
And Neil Lennon. It took him 3 years, and Neil Lennon.
Yeah, Neil Lennon. I was going to say there's only one of the team in contention, and they were managed by Neil Lennon. So yeah, it's not like it was a great feat to win it. To be fair, so it's a tough one. They're all just terrible, aren't they? Managers as bad as they were good players. Anyway, should we move on to the? Sorry, what were we talking about? Villa. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I think this is Emery suited to a team like that where there's a bit less pressure and expectation. He did really well at mid-table when he was at Arsenal, where it was Arsenal, wasn't it? managed for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
the expectation is to challenge at the top, and he doesn't seem to be able to cope with expectation. It just doesn't seem to work with him. But when he's the lower expectation, he seems to do really well. It was when the expectations started to ramp up when he, with fuck's sake,
PSG and Arsenal.
yeah, and no, I meant I was going to say he didn't work because of the but when he was at Sevilla, that was it. Yeah, Sevilla is how they pronounce it there. So that's the pronunciation I'll go with because that's the Andalus way of saying it. Sevilla. They pronounce Sevilla as a V in Andalus. So yeah, it's the only thing I can remember of my parent from when I was out there for a while. It's
okay, we know this story. We've heard it many times. Just get on with
it. I was just gonna say,
So you've been to Spain. Okay, we get it.
He was improving. He got better. He took them further up, and they started to actually have pressure on him to challenge at the top of the table rather than just be happy with whatever they got. And suddenly, they started to struggle under him. He doesn't seem to work well when he's under pressure and expectation, but when there's none, he seems to be brilliant. So I just wonder how long. Can he be a long-term success at Villa? I have my doubts whether he'll do okay when the pressure ramps up. If the pressure ramps up, maybe it won't do there. Because there's
they've only been schooled once this year, Villa. In the League Cup, when Everton went there and absolutely slaughtered them. But I'm just saying that, just putting that in there.
Putting that in, yeah.
It was the only good Everton performance in the past decade. So you.
No, we went to Brentford and done the same. Made it them as well.
Oh wow, that's it then. Great side, Everton. Then, yeah. Oh god.
So what is?
Mention it.
No, Billy. What you're telling me is the biggest achievement for Everton in the past decade is beating Brighton 5-0.
5-1. I think it was 5-2. 5-1 or 5-2. Yeah, that was a good result. We do have some good results, as well as some bad ones. So, I'm not saying we're a great side because we're not, but we could come good. I'm not ruling out Europe this year, unless we get the 12 points deducted.
But the other
which we can move on to actually, Chris. Go on, mate.
No, we've still got a couple of games. You've still got another game to do after this one. I was just going to say, with West Ham, you still got to talk about West Ham in this game. I want to say this is the Moyes effect, where they just fold against any team that actually attacks them, and because they sit back and they wait, and if a team attacks them and actually scores, they're in trouble. They're only good. They're only good if they can keep it at 0-0 till late in the game. You know what I mean? The minute if they go behind, they're in trouble because they just haven't got the wherewithal to take a game to
the mentality. Yeah, that comes from the manager. You're right. It comes from the manager. He's too safe. He always has been, David Moyes. Very safe. Everton never won a game in something like 6 years against a top 6 side for the same reason. That he'd go there hoping to get a draw, not even trying to win a game, just hoping to get a draw. And he described it himself as taking a knife to a gunfight. Going to these teams, you know what I mean? Because they never had a side who were worthy of beating the Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea at the time, and Man City. And that's the mentality of David Moyes, I'm afraid. And that's why he'll never be a great manager.
But his team now, West Ham, I mean, this is a good side. It's certainly good enough to give
it is a good side, yeah.
Challenge. They've got the players there to actually take the game to Villa and any other team that they face, for that matter. But they should have given Villa a game, and they simply didn't because they just folded. And that's every time I watch them, I think if a team scores first early against them, West Ham are done. They just haven't got anything left in the tank. Even if they do manage to fluke an equaliser. It does feel like it's a fluke rather than good play. That's the problem with them. Even though they've got the players to be better, I don't understand it because when they were having their best season under him, when they were at their best was the time when he let them off the leash and actually played good attacking football early on when he first came back to them. And then he's gone back to being himself, and they've looked worse for it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a manager thing, West Ham, because as you say, they've got good players, they've got a good setup, they play some nice football at times as well. They have got the wherewithal there to become a decent top six side. They could become that because they're a good club.
And the finances.
But I think he's going to hold them back a bit.
Mm.
He'll always do well. He'll always get you, up there, but he won't make that final step, to become a really good team, a challenging team, because of he's got a flaw in his attitude for me. That was the problem with Everton. 11 years, never actually won anything and we had a decent side at one time, you know what I mean? That we had a few decent sides there, and he never made the step up. We got up to fourth one year in his tenure, and that was as good as we done because of that very fact, that he couldn't take the side any further. And I think that showed when he went to United as well.
Oh, you finished fourth, so you played in the Champions League?
Yes.
Yeah. Don't you remember it? It was the year 2005 season, 2004-2005, when Liverpool won the Champions League, and they changed the rules to get Everton into it, even because normally you'd have 4 qualifiers, and they made 5 qualifiers because the FA wouldn't back down on the thing. Because Liverpool obviously qualified as reigning champions. Usually, what happens is the rules stated that the reigning champion qualified straight into the group stages, but because the FA dug their heels in and said no, Everton have to go in as well, Liverpool was shafted and had to qualify go through the qualifying rounds as well, even though it never happened before or since. The reigning champion.
Yeah, we did. But we did finish fourth. That was a good achievement, that, for Everton in present circumstances. But that was as high as he could take us.
I knew you guys finished fourth. I also knew that Liverpool won the Champions League that season and finished outside top 4. I thought Everton were shafted, but turns out they weren't.
That was awful. That Liverpool team was awful, to be fair. Wasn't really good enough to be Champions League winners. So,
was that Jimmy Trey? Was that the Jimmy Trey alright final?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
It is truly a miracle in Istanbul, that one, because that team, that AC Milan team we faced, and Ancelotti again just doesn't have the wherewithal to get the best out of teams he manages. He has the best team, and they were by far and away the best team in the world right then. They should have absolutely.
Just look at the backline for them, man.
Yeah. They were far better than that Liverpool team. And somehow they managed to lose it to them. Shocking. Really is. That was... Yeah, anyway, we shouldn't be talking about that because that's irrelevant to where we were up to. Should we move on to the final game of the week? Tottenham versus Fulham.
Spain, yeah.
Yeah, which was really...
No surprises there, really, was there?
Fulham is shite, let's be honest. They're not a good side. They're awful.
No.
They really are a bad side, and Spurs, that was just a stroll for them.
Yeah, they're not a good side for them. But to be fair to Spurs, they're doing as good as they can do at the moment. And it's all down to Postecoglou for me. Harry Kane went, and they thought it was going to be a catastrophe for Spurs. It's turned out to be the best move ever for them. They're playing more as a rounded team rather than a one-man team, which they were under when Harry Kane was leading the line. And it's more players will come in now to play, and some were very good anyway with Harry Kane. But now they see more of a balanced side, and I think that the best thing that could happen was for Harry to go. Although I'm a massive fan of Harry Kane, I think he's a fantastic player. I think for Tottenham Hotspur themselves, I think it worked in their favour for him to actually go.
Yeah, I think the money's been better for them so far, anyway.
Yeah.
Still not
But
convinced.
as you say, go
I
on,
was
Chris.
just to say, I'm not convinced they're a title challenger, though, are they? And they've been very lucky in the teams they've faced and the results they've got.
Yeah.
What do you think, Seamus?
Another great story.
They look all right, but
Yeah.
that's about it. It just seems like they fluked their way into being the league leaders right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to put your life savings on them staying there, would you?
No.
You wouldn't even want to put the money you found on the ground on them. Later in life savings.
Yeah. If you'd found 50 quid in the street, you wouldn't put it on them staying there.
No. No, because it is Tottenham after all, isn't it?
Yeah, and they don't look like they've not got there deservedly, have they? Let's be honest. They've had a very easy run, which much easier run than the other teams around them. And the one game that was difficult, they were helped massively, as we know, to the victory. So, and even then they needed an own goal against 9 men. So, it's not like they've been impressive, and you think, yeah, they're flying them really, which has surprised me because I expected much better of Postecoglou, to be honest.
I think you've done okay, I think you're doing them a disservice there. I think they've done all right. I know they haven't played
that's
the biggest
That's what we're
teams.
saying. That's what we're saying. They've just done all right, and then when you're top of the league, you should be saying you've done brilliantly.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I do know what you're saying. But Postecoglou's done well there. I didn't think he was that good a manager, to be honest with you.
I do.
I know you've always been a fan of it, but what I've seen of him when he was up at Celtic, I thought the step would be too big for him. I wasn't expecting him to be as good as what I think he's done, even though he has had a bit of a rub of the green. But Tottenham look like a decent outfit to me. I'm not saying they're going to win anything, but they do look a better side without Harry Kane, even though I'm a massive Kane fan. I think it's just worked for them. They come up trumps. They're not going to stay there, we all know that. But, give credit where it's due. They've done as good as they could possibly do. And all power to them. All power to them.
Yeah, I think Postecoglou, you take them. He's definitely improved them, and I expect him to improve them further if he stays. They don't make a stupid decision and sack him because he doesn't win the league. Because let's face it, they're not going to win the league. Much as it'd be exciting to have somebody other than Man City winning it, if it is somebody other than Man City, I just the chances of it being Tottenham are probably 0.00001 of a chance, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So anyway, should we move
on? Probably said that about Leicester, though, didn't they? Winning the league, so you never know.
Yeah, true. You never can tell, but it'd take a collapse of massive proportions from the rest for Tottenham to win it, I think.
Yeah, but having seen Leicester full of that miracle kindness sort of, we're not gonna see another miracle of this similar proportions anytime soon.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so, would you? You'd be very shocked if it happened, anything like that happened again. Which is a shame because it was good for football having that. Much as I'm not, not the biggest Leicester fan, and they cheated to get their way into the league in the first place. But still, it was interesting and it was exciting to have a different team up there.
It was refreshing. Yeah, it was refreshing. Yeah, very much so.
That's a great word. That's a great word for it.
Sorry?
Yeah, anyway, should we move on to other business? Anything else you'd like to talk about?
How about Tonali?
Yeah.
How about Everton?
Well, should we start with Tonali because we know what's happened there. 18-month ban, but only 10 months from playing. 8 months is he's got to go into rehab for 8 months. and he's got to make a certain number of public appearances to against betting and he's got to spend 8 months in rehab basically, which for me I just think it's very soft. And like I've said, I don't think you help somebody who's got an addiction by making it going easy on them, because they need to bottom out to actually, they need life-changing experience. And 10 months doesn't really change much.
And also, if you're taking a guy who's apparently is addicted to gambling, and then you tell him you can't continue with your current profession, which is playing football. So in essence, you're handing him even more free time to gamble. Maybe he's not going to gamble on football.
But yeah, I think it's a bit unfair though. Go on.
How much of that punishment is going to actually help him get over his problem, and how much of that is just...
It does seem a pointless punishment, a ban for betting. I understand they've got to do some kind of punishment, but it does seem to be counterproductive, because they're not learning. It'd be much better if they put them actively working in places where they can see the damage that's done by addiction to gambling. Those that have been destroyed by their addictions, to work with them rather than a rehab. So I don't think rehab's much of a use anyway. I'm not a big fan of it. It doesn't tend to have what has an effect is people decide, is realizing this is, that their life's being destroyed by what they've got and making the change themselves. That's the only thing that actually works, in my opinion. And I think but seeing how other people have been affected by it can make a difference as well. Can give you the similar sort of shock and affect you and make you change your life. And I think that's what they should be doing. They should be made to work for these charities that deal with the damage done by gambling addiction and stuff, rather than stopping them, because all you've done is you've just given them 10 months off where they're where their addiction's going to be crying for them to feed it.
Yes, yeah.
It doesn't make sense. If it's just
what doesn't fit? Go on.
And he's going to get paid. And is he going to get paid?
I think his wages are suspended for the 10 months he's out, if I'm correct.
Yeah, because if it isn't, then it's not a punishment at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I believe his wages are being suspended while he's not eligible to play, so his wages are suspended. I believe. I'm not 100% on that, because it's never made clear, and you're never sure whether they actually do abide by that, clubs, because they sometimes don't want to lose a star player, do they? I mean, for me, the big question is, and we've spoke about this before the podcast, didn't we, Bill, a little bit? Well, we were waiting to give Seamus a few minutes, see if he can make it on time. Yeah, we were talking about the did AC Milan know about this? In my opinion, the reason they sold him so quickly, and from what I can gather, is that they knew he was in trouble for he'd been gambling and had a gambling problem, and that's why they were letting him go. And so I think Newcastle would have a case to sue them for it. And I think that's the next question: is would they pursue legal action? I think they very well might do so, because it's quite clear that
can they prove that?
Can they prove that, isn't it?
AC Milan knew about it, or was that transfer just because they needed the money and they went in with the money? It's not like Newcastle were forced to buy him.
Well, yeah, but
they didn't. But you also have to consider the fact that they didn't do their proper due diligence.
Yeah, exactly. They were just thinking, God, we got a player here. I think they were just so pleased to have the chance to sign him that they didn't do it. And
yeah, like Man United, we cannot now go back at Ajax and say that you guys handed us a troubled kid in Anthony. Because we decided to pursue the player as well, and we should also have done a better job of knowing the player before we signed him for such significant sums.
Yeah, exactly.
Same goes for Tonali and Newcastle. One thing it's fair to assume is that AC Milan are not going to get any Saudi teams sponsors anytime soon. I think that would be pretty. Yeah, that would be a pretty good assumption right now.
Yeah, I think that might. Yeah, that's a very good point. They might not have be the Saudis' favourite people. Yeah, you're right there.
I feel a bit sorry for Ivan Toney in all this, for the simple reason that he got the same sort of ban, but Tonali was actually betting on matches he was playing in, and his team were playing in, and I think that for me is far worse than what Ivan Toney done, which was bet on matches that did not affect Brentford, and I think it's a lot worse if you're actually involved in the game or your team's involved in the game to bet on them, whereas Ivan Toney didn't. And I think he got the bad end of the stick there for his ban that he got. I think Tonali is far worse what he done, betting against your own side. And I think that doesn't sit right with me, I must admit.
Yeah, it does seem that, and he was the way he was gambling as well with illegal companies. You know, they were shady, shady gambling outfits he was gambling with as well. So it wasn't just he was gambling. It was also, it was also gambling with shady outfits, which is a double thing. Tony was doing it with legitimate gambling companies. So whether you agree with gambling or not, these were licensed and legal. You know what I mean? Fully legal in the country they're in. So he wasn't breaking the law as well, which which is how they caught him in the first place, because him and a few others, Fagioli and Zaniolo, which is the one we have to wait and see, because he's the only one that denied it, rather than the others have all admitted it, and that's why because they've got a lenient ban, because they admitted it and said they were addicted. Whereas Zaniolo's denied it, hasn't he? Which is interesting. Have to wait and see what happens there, really.
Yeah.
While we're on, just before we carry on, I'm just going to say what the scores are at the moment. Olympiacos are beating West Ham 2-0, and Rangers are drawing 0-0 at Sparta Prague. Oh, that's it. That's the only British club playing. I didn't realise. I forgot it's still early. I forget the time because it's like 2 a.m. here, so I'm thinking it's, the full games are on, but no, it's not yet, is it? I was thinking the Brighton game and that would be on, but yeah, still early. Well, I know that's not on because I'd be watching it if it was on. Any other things you want to talk about? There is something I'd like. There is a couple of things I'd like to talk about from Spain, La Liga.
But let's move on to thingy first, Trist. What Deep brought up first, which was the Everton inquiry into financial fair play breaches. Before we go on to the European stuff, by all accounts from newspapers, and it is only speculation, the big papers seem to think that Everton are going to get a 12-point ban, and that's what the Premier League are asking for from this commission that's being... Go on, mate.
Can I just say something there? The papers have said they may get a 12-point deduction. Only thing the only thing we actually know from that's true is that the Premier League have asked for a point deduction. That's the only thing we can work out. We don't even know what the actual offence they're being investigated is for, because it's not been confirmed yet. Everyone's just guessing, and there's like 3 or 4 different scenarios being given. And
I see that. Yeah.
So that makes it that means, like, how can if they don't even know what the offence actually is, how can they know what the punishment's going to be? Like, you know what I mean? So it is a case of waiting and seeing at the moment.
Yeah, it is, you're totally right, Tris, of course, But there is speculation that you know, it has been asked if Everton are found guilty, 12 points. Do we think 12 points is fair? Do we think that the other teams who are up there with the investigations, Manchester City, Chelsea, is that going to be a thing across the board now that if you're found guilty of irregularities, that it's an automatic 12-point ban deduction? Sorry. And do we think that's fair, or should there be other sanctions as well?
It really depends on the circumstance. I mean, Man City's 115 different cases against them, so you can't really say 12 points isn't enough for them. I mean, what they've actually been accused of, you're looking at possible stripping of titles and stuff, because it's that bad. It's this serious a case. So is a 12-point deduction enough in their case? No. Chelsea again. I mean, it's hard to say. It seems a bit. It's the same. If it depends on what they're actually convicted of doing. You know what the crime actually is. Until we're actually 100% sure what that is, how can we say whether it's a fair thing or not? I mean, if it's just the COVID thing, which is what some people seem to think it's about, them pulling, lying about the COVID and claiming the losses, they were making ridiculous amounts of losses. But that seems to be, according to Everton, have said that that's not the issue. So I don't know. It's 12 points is a very strong penalty, to be fair, but in this season it might end up being a point, a nothing penalty because of how bad the teams are. So no, it might actually be not a worthwhile penalty. And when do they apply it as well? Is another big
that's going to be the thing.
That's as important as what it is, isn't it?
And there's also 3 teams waiting for the decision to see whether they're going to sue Everton for 300 million. Burnley, Leicester and Leeds, have written to 777 partners who are supposed to be taking over Everton to say, if you take over them, be prepared for a £300 million lawsuit against you. So obviously people think there's some irregularities going on, and I've said this all along from the start. If Everton are found guilty, I think they should be penalised, and I've got no problem at all whether it's a deduction or a embargo or a fine, whatever it is. But that's got to be. But that's got to go. Well, they're the 3 things that they're on the table as punishments: fine, transfer, embargo, and a points deduction. I'm just quoting what they're saying.
I was just going to say they have a fine on their table, but it's ridiculous for FFP breaches and profit and sustainability breaches to have to penalise a team by they've spent too much money, to penalise them by asking them to give you more money, give away more money. So putting them in, especially if the breaches are supposed to be about sustainability, to then make them even less sustainable surely makes no sense. I
see your point there.
That's got to be the wrong.
All I'm saying is that I don't mind Everton getting the ban. They'll totally deserve it if they've cheated, basically. But that's also got to go for the other teams when they are thinking. I don't want Everton to be made the scapegoat, and then when it comes to City and Chelsea, that they're handed an embargo or something like that, and maybe a lesser point. It's got to be pro rata. If Man City's 3 times worse than what Everton were, they should be docked, 36 points. And it should go pro rata. And I don't think teams should get away with it. If you're guilty, you're guilty. And there should be a sanction for that. But it's got to be across the board. It can't be, give this team a fine or give them an embargo. If you're going to deduct points, anyone who's found guilty has got to be deducted points. That's all I'm looking for.
yeah, what do you think, Seamus?
I am confused. Like, how do these commissions and everything decide on what number of points to be docked? Is there a metric like this much of misdemeanor is for 5 points, this is for 8 and 12 and 15? Like, how does the number 12 points deduction come here? Why is it not 10 or why is it not 15?
I don't
Well,
know.
I think it's been set a precedent in. There's already been 2 cases, but they were not Premier League. They were Championship. Two of them got fined 12 points. Both of them got 12 points deduction. I think that's the premise that they're working on. You know, is that that's the thing.
I'll tell you why it's not 10 or so. It's based on wins, points for win, 3. So it's 4 games basically. They're being punished. You know what I mean? That's how they're doing it. It's 4 wins they're losing. Rather than, that's how it's worked. It's like 3-point penalty for certain things is the reason why it's the 3-point penalty is because that's a win. And then there's a 6-point penalty for other things because that's 2 wins. You know what I mean? That's how it's worked on. It's based on a 3-point system, 3 points for a win system rather than anything else. That's why it's 3, 6, 12. You know what I mean? It's going up. Yeah, it's based around the 3 points for a win, and it's a number of games won that you're being deducted rather than anything else. A bit like if you do something wrong in a match and the game's awarded to the other team 3-0, it's basically it's based on that system. So that's why it's 3, 6, and 12.
Multiples of 3, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure how it would decide that it's 12. This one's worthy of 12 because we don't know what the offence actually is. So, even if they're going to be found guilty yet, so we'll soon find out. Hopefully, I mean, we were told it would be the 25th. Then we were told it was
25th, yeah.
Then we were told it was being dealt with during the actual international break, so it might come earlier. Now it's got to the 27th, and we've still not got to it. I just don't understand how a corporation the size of the FA and Premier League can't get this done much sooner. I mean, if they haven't got the personnel there to deal with this earlier, and during international breaks would have been the perfect time to get it sorted. But the longer it's held over the head, it's unfair on everyone. It's not just Everton.
That's why the 3 teams have got a grievance, because if it was last year, Everton went down.
Yeah.
Simple as that. That's why that's what they're saying. They're saying, they might even sue the FA for not doing it, the Premier League, for not doing it quick enough, because they wouldn't have been, whoever finished, 18th last year, they wouldn't have been down in the Championship and lose so much income. And they'd have a case against them because it should have been done sooner. I think they've got a case.
18th, 19th and 20th, because 3 cases have came up last season and are still not dealt with now, and we're nearly midway through. We're a third of the way through this season and they're still not dealt with. So there's 3 clubs. That's why all 3 clubs have got a case, because all 3 all 3 opponents could have been deducted points, and they could have ended up. It could have been Man City, Everton, and Chelsea got relegated because of the point deduction they got. Potentially, so they would all have a case against the FA, really. But there's no reason for it to take so long either. I mean, especially, I keep saying this, but Man City have already been found guilty of over half the offences by UEFA. So why is that not dealt with immediately and then worry about sort out the rest afterwards? This could have been done. Every moment it hangs over the head of the football, over the head of football, is a problem for the other teams as well as them. It's not just Everton who's friend. It's the other teams that don't know whether they're going to have an advantage over them and that. It's.
Well, Man City's goes back 11 years or something like that. It did their offences.
Yeah, since they've got bought out.
Yeah, so, you know, that should have come to light a lot sooner than 11 years. Shouldn't it, really? Let's be honest about it.
But the UEFA had done a full investigation that took years, so long that the events were time barred from their regulations. Why weren't the FA doing a concurrent investigation? Because it wasn't just affecting the UEFA FFP rules or PNS rules, whatever they call them there. It was the same offences for over half of them for also applied to the Premier League. So why were they not investigating at the same time, working with UEFA to deal with it at the time? They knew this was going on. This is just pure incompetence. Why it's and the fact that it's taken so long. And for me, it really pisses me off is because City then go on and win the Champions League last season eventually after all this trying, and they've still not been punished for cheating to get to that position in the first place. They won something that they really might not have been in a position to win if things had been done, if they'd been treated fairly. And it just feels like it's unfair on all those other teams that were in the Champions League last season, that the team that won it have cheated to get in the position to win it. Or is it just, I mean, I'm not, because Liverpool weren't in the final, so they didn't, it's not really affected them. But a team that's in the final would have a fair case to say, well, hang on, we shouldn't have actually been facing these, because they should have been, if they get deducted points by the Premier League, for instance, or strip the titles and stuff, I mean, they'd have a fair case to say, well, hang on, we faced these, they don't deserve to have it. The Champions League, even, because they shouldn't have been there in the first place, So how far, do they have a case to see UEFA? There's a lot more effect than just the teams actually being punished. It's a mess, and it should have been dealt with much more quickly. I don't care how good the lawyers are for City. The Premier League are strong, are in a position where they could have pushed this through a lot sooner. They could have worked with UEFA to get the, to go on the investigation, and it could have been dealt with along with them. Should have been. Not could, should have been. And instead, we're years on, and they're still not dealt with, and it's unfair on everyone else.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's why I said that's all I'm asking for is that it goes across the board. Not one team getting off with it or two teams getting off with it. If you're caught and you're guilty, you get an automatic fine, an automatic deduction or whatever the penalty is. But Everton seem to think they've done nothing wrong, so we'll have to see. We are just speculating at the moment.
Okay, sure. Is there anything else you want to deal with in the Premier League?
No, not me really.
Seamus? Anything else?
Nothing more.
Okay, there's just a couple of things I'd like to get into from Spain. First off, Javier Tebas, the one who argues with everyone and anyone and gets in, as making an absolute mess of La Liga with all the clubs, including Real Madrid and Barcelona, in real financial difficulties since he's taken over and stuff like that. Somehow, he's been voted a massive pay rise as president of La Liga. Only two clubs voted against it, one of which was Real Madrid, obviously, because they're one of the teams that's fighting with him. One of the groups fighting with him. And he's now going to be paid more than both UEFA's president, Alexander Ceferin, and FIFA's president, Gianni Infantino. I mean, shocking. He's being paid more than Xavi gets as Barcelona's head coach. He's going to be getting paid €5.4 million a year.
Not bad, is it? Not bad money.
For mismanaging. I mean, he's making an absolute dog's dinner of it as well. It's shocking. How did he manage to get that? I mean, there's got to be some corruption going on there for him to get voted in again, to get voted a pay rise. I mean, it's bad enough he's got voted in, but to get a big pay rise for making an absolute mess of things, it's astonishing. Really is astonishing. Yeah. And then there's the other one.
Absolutely.
The other one is ahead of the Classico this weekend. I don't know if you saw Sevilla fan was booted out of the game against Real Madrid at the last weekend, making monkey gestures to Vinicius Junior again. You know, he always seems to be suffering.
He seems to get it.
Yeah,
He seems to get everything.
yeah, he's literally there. You know, he was. You could clearly see him. This isn't. You know, it isn't like it's a slam dunk. You can clearly see the guy. He stood there in the front row, and he's doing monkey gestures at Vinicius Junior. It's blatant. It's obvious. You can see him. There's no. You know, there's no doubting he's guilty and all that, and it's racist. But Barca's Directors Board spokesman Mikel Camps wrote on Twitter, "It's not racism. Vinicius deserves a slap for being a clown. What do these unnecessary and meaningless stepovers represent in the centre of the pitch?" Even even Barcelona come out and said we apologise, and he's had to delete the comments, and they've come out. You know, the vice president of Barcelona came out and said he won't be saying anything like that again. That will not happen. We're really sorry. You know what I mean? I think basically, you know, if he hasn't been sacked, he should be for that. I just how can you say that's not racism, but to then call him a clown? What was
a step over?
You know, does he not remember Ronaldinho at Barcelona? Apparently, that was great entertainment when he did it for them. But now it's a Real Madrid player. Now it's being a clown. It's like, but that's shocking to defend racism like that. Because he obviously thinks it's all right because it's a Real Madrid player. That's basically what he's saying, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just can't get over that one.
No.
Just shows how bad the problem is of racism might never be eradicated because you'll always have hits like that coming out and defending the racists. And you know, siding with them because it's not a player that plays for their team or plays for a rival. It's obviously it's okay when it's a rival player.
On that note, I'm going to leave this, boys. I'm going to have me tea.
Okay.
It's pie and chips tonight. Very basic, isn't it? Bit basic, that like pie and chips. It's the steak pie and chips.
Oh, steak pie, see? Posh you are, mate. Hey?
Yeah.
It's not a meat and potato.
I've never been accused of being a vegetarian. No, I love me steak pies. So thanks very much for today, boys. It's been good, and I shall see you next Thursday. Ta-ra, Deeps. Ta-ra, Tress.
Yeah, we'll see you next Thursday, mate. Take care. And anyone listening, we'll see you next Thursday. Take care.
Cheers, boys. Good night.
Take care, mate. Seamus even still there. I'd say it for him. He'll see you next Thursday as well, I think. He's probably fallen asleep, bless him. He's old. You know, he's not young like me and Billy, you see. That's the problem. Oh, he's definitely fallen asleep. Okay, see you next Thursday, everybody. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.